Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Market Open. It is Thursday, December 26th, 8:47 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is the day after Christmas. Hello, everybody. Hopefully you guys had a great Christmas. We are back to the equity markets as they have opened up. Honestly, I forgot overnight trading would be open last night. For some reason, I kind of felt like it would be closed. But by 8 p.m. last night on Christmas, markets were open and we had stocks to analyze. So we are back here the day after Christmas. Before we get started, first of all, thank you everybody for being here. Just wanted to ask everyone how their Christmas was. Mine was pretty chill. Stayed at home, ate some good food with the family. We actually watched the movie together last night. You guys will be really proud of me. We watched the movie together last night and I stayed the full 2 hours and I watched it. I think I only watched it because I was with my family and we haven't all sat together and watched the movie for a while. But I'll tell you guys what the movie is in a second. But thank you everybody for being here. Hopefully everyone had a great Christmas. If you celebrated, you got to spend some time off with the fam and just got to chill yesterday and got to enjoy. Bay Ray, what's up? Walt, what's up? Brad. Also, who's home today? Who's not at work? Who's actually got some time off from work over the next few days? Let me know in the chat if you are actually able to just relax at home. It was not The Grinch. It was actually a more modern film, although I wouldn't have minded The Grinch. Meditation Mind, what's up? Jeremy, what's up? You're off from work. I love it. Scott Cross, I'm Beneficial Works from Home. That's amazing. Tony, what's up? Scott, Jed, Elaton, Mark. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Back into these equity markets as we will get into it over the next few hours. All right, so we watched the new Netflix movie, ironically, Cover Up, the airport one. The one about the airport and basically the guy that's being controlled and manipulated. And I watched the full 2 hours. It was actually good. It was one of the top 10 movies in Netflix yesterday. Squid Game, I've not watched that yet because their first episode came out at 3 a.m. or the series came out at 3 a.m. Netflix has to change that, dude. They released it at 12 a.m. Pacific, so 3 a.m. Eastern, and so I wasn't able to watch it. But tonight I want to kind of finish up the Squid Game series, or at least begin that show. But I watched Cover Up. It wasn't too bad. It was a decent movie, right? Oh, it's Carry On. Oh shit, dude! Every time. Yeah, Carry On. Sorry, not Cover Up. You could understand that wording mistake. Cover Up versus Carry On. That's well, regardless, this is not making my case on how I actually watched the movie, but I did watch the movie. I was surprised. The plot I think was kind of dumb. It was very similar to Taken and it was really similar to Eagle Eye with Shia LaBeouf. It was very similar to that movie from 2008. The plot was kind of predictable, but it was an exciting movie. Actors were good too. So wasn't too bad, even though it wasn't called Cover Up, it was called Carry On. So that's what I watched last night. Outside of that, honestly, just had some good food with the family. Didn't do anything too crazy. I didn't know we had guests come over. We were having guests come over yesterday. So usually when we have guests come over, and my mom's gonna hate when I say this, but it's the truth. I don't care. That's when we have a ton of food that's cooked in the house. This is only part one of the amount of food that was cooked yesterday. I woke up yesterday and I was like, why do I smell so much food? Because I was like, my mom doesn't be cooking like that. But when we have guests come over, she really goes all out. So this is a charcuterie board, or however you call it, yesterday. People were like, where's the meat? There was a lot of sausages and stuff. It just wasn't in this picture. And yeah, there was a ton of food yesterday. So I was pleasantly caught off guard with the idea that there's actually food for us to eat on Christmas. My mom went all out and I enjoyed it. Wasn't too bad. And after that, kind of just knocked out for a few hours, woke up, then watched the movie, and that was it. That was it for Christmas. So that was my day. Hopefully everyone had a great day as well. Enjoyed the day. I actually wasn't on my phone for the most time watching the movie. I was kind of off my phone yesterday. I was relatively, in the moment, but it's kind of crazy because usually my life with Christmas breaks in the past, I've either been a student in high school or college, and this time you have off, or the previous work I used to do this time would be off as well. This is the first time part of my life where it's no, December 26th, get your ass back up. You got to get to work, and markets are open, which means you've got a job to do. So a lot to analyze, a lot to get into. I do feel like today's going to be a little bit of a boring day, guys. Already pre-markets are kind of boring. There's not that much going on, not that many headlines, not that much news. I think we're trying to get through these final 3 trading days of December. We do have some macro data we'll look at in a second, and just get through it. So I am hoping the last 3 days kind of ends out in a strong way, and we're seeing hints of it already in the pre-markets. But outside of that, I don't expect much today. I expect it to be a pretty boring day, and hopefully nothing too crazy from there. All right, real quick, let's look at some macro data, and then I want to hear from Tom Lee. He did have a piece on CNBC on Friday, and I actually didn't really get to watch it, so it's been a while since I got his thoughts on what's happening in the markets, but let's hear what he has to say. Outlook for 2025. We did have a nice rally. Just to give a little bit of a recap of what happened on Friday, this was how the day ended. I mean, take a look at that. This was how the freaking day ended on Friday. Friday, we had a pretty epic stream. It was about 4.5 hours. I didn't expect to stream till the market closed, but we did. And we had Chris, TJ, Jason, a bunch of people just joined. We had a good debate around options and covered calls and puts and all this good stuff. So I think it was a good episode. I didn't expect it to go that long, but we weren't even really looking at the markets the whole day. I mean, it was in the background, but we were more focused on like the conversation we were having. And then by the end of the day, you take a look at the heat map, and it was blistering green across the board. So I think that was day one of the Santa rally really starting. Here's what Tom Lee had to say on that day. Let's get his thoughts and comments going into 2025. Oh, sorry, Friday. I meant to say Tuesday. I meant to say, yeah, this whole week is kind of flipped upside down. All right, here's Tom Lee from 2 days ago.
Tom Lee, he is also a CNBC contributor. Happy holidays to you, Tom. Thank you for being here. I want to ask you about the animal spirits, because I was reading in the producer's notes that you believe they come back next year. What species of animals come back, and were they hibernating this year? Because we saw some species out in full force in 2024. So I'm curious which ones you think will be in full force in 2025.
What I'm thinking about with animal spirits, and it's a Milton Friedman reference, is the ISM's been below 50 for almost 3 years, meaning companies have been cautious. Their visibility hasn't been great. But finally, the Fed is cutting, and we have an incoming administration that's seen as very business friendly. And so I think companies for the first time in a long time are going to be expansionary, feel confident doing mergers. I think this is a very good environment for small caps, mid caps, the financials, and cyclicals broadly like industrial. So I think it's going to feel a lot like the market broadens in 2025. Even as tech sort of keeps up with the market.
Now, I know you are a quintessential optimist, Tom, but I'm curious, where do you see the biggest risks to that forecast for next year?
Well, there's, the big foil in 2025 is going to be whether or not there's a policy error, and there can be two sources. One would be if the incoming administration does implement tariffs that are damaging to the economy, because we know that they'd be immediate effects, or if there are mass deportations that have some unknown impact on labor markets. The other source would be if the Fed becomes too inflation focused and allows the labor market to weaken. And so we actually slip from the Fed sort of trying to support the economy to the Fed trying to save it. I think that would be a very adverse development.
Tom. All right. So pretty much, and we'll finish the rest of that clip later, but pretty much Tom Lee is essentially saying, look, 2025 should still be bullish in the key sectors that he's looking at, which he's been bullish at for the past year now: financials, cyclicals, and small caps. Small caps haven't played out the way he wanted it to play out really this year. I mean, it's kind of outperformed other sectors, but as an entire industry, IWM really hasn't taken off. Here are the jobless claims we got this morning. 219,000 versus 223,000 expected. So you have a little bit less in terms of initial jobless claims. That's about 4,000 less. And then continuing jobless claims at 1.9 million versus 1.88 million. So this is pretty good news for jobless claims. Although it has eased by about 1,000, it is the lowest reading since the near 7-month low of 213,000 from 1 month prior, which is suggesting that the U.S. labor market remains tight ahead of the turn of the year, and so far aligning with the FOMC's recent signal that inflation poses a bigger threat to the economy than a softening labor market. Now, the labor market is softening while maintaining some momentum, so it's kind of a tricky, nuanced way in terms of how the Fed is going to ultimately have to interpret jobless claims or job growth going into the new year. But inflation is the bigger issue with the Fed, at least for now, given CPI and PPI came higher than expected. Again, PCE data we got last week, that was in line with expectations and I think slightly lower on the yearly from expectations, which is really good because, we needed PCE to come down. But CPI, PPI have not been like that. And so jobless claims are nice, but really we're going to have to see inflation come down for this thing to get good. As Crypto Golfer says right here, initial claims mean nothing. They'll be revised 3 times in the next 6 months. Yeah, I mean, look, that you can't argue with you there. Jobless numbers have been revised many, many times. Even some of the more accurate ones in October got revised down. So I don't know. You would think the summer ones are a bit more inaccurate for a variety of different reasons. But even the fall ones were inaccurate. So I guess we're gonna have to see how the Trump administration handles the macro data going into the new year. And also we're gonna have to see if any of the policies that Trump inputs has a substantial impact or a sort of muted impact on some of the macro data we're seeing as well. Now, let's talk about what's going on in the pre-markets, because last night at 8 p.m. to kind of 1 a.m., pre-markets were way more exciting than what we're seeing right now. And the reason for that was because of Bitcoin. Bitcoin was at $99,923 at 9 o'clock last night. So you did have a decent amount of people thinking this thing was going to 100,000. That didn't happen. In fact, we got a dump from 99 to 95. And that affected all the proxies. So Hood was above $40. Now it's at $39.04. MSTR was at $370. Now it's at $348 in the pre-markets. Coinbase as well. Coinbase was into that 290 range. Now it's at 273. And you got all the miners getting hit off that as well. Marathon right here down about 2.68%. So Bitcoin down 2.67% right here from 99 to 95. That is affecting the other proxies as they continue to weaken a little bit. Even Tesla, and I think that was in kind of fueling the entire markets yesterday. Tesla was at 475 last night. Now it's at 464. So again, this is what I mean. I think it's going to be kind of a little bit of a boring day because you had a lot of movement last night. People woke up, they took some profits, and Bitcoin, not being able to hold that 99 range definitely didn't help. And you're kind of seeing stocks just kind of be basic right here. Even Palantir was trying to go for 84 last night. Right now it's at 82.88. We have held 80 for 3 days in a row at this point, which is absolutely incredible. We ended the day 82.38 on Tuesday, up right now 82.88 in the pre-markets. Another day of holding 80 would be really good to begin the process of normalizing this bad boy at this $80 range. But that's just going to have to be one of those things that Palantir is able to try to sustain going into the new year as well. So we're going to see. Omar has a good question right here. Who watched NFL on Netflix yesterday? I actually watched a little bit of NFL on Netflix yesterday. I saw a little bit of the Chiefs game. Look, I think Netflix executed really well. They're down about 0.5% right now in the pre-markets, but I don't think there were that many delays. I think there was a little bit of like buffering and delays into the in terms of the distribution of the technology worldwide. But for the far majority of people, they were able to watch the Chiefs game. And I think Netflix, it was written about that they did a very good job selling advertising for the game, because so they spent $150 million for these 2 games, which means they felt the advertising they could sell against these 2 games was greater than $150 million. And I don't love that they're spending that much money on a football game. That's kind of the stuff that scares me if I was owning Netflix stock. But the part that excites me is like, well, wait a second, if they can use that $150 million to develop a relationship with the NFL and maybe take away a sports deal from the Primes of the world or the CBSs of the world, which would be really hard to do. If they could do that, that would make a lot of people very excited about Netflix, and potentially take the stock even higher from the 91% gain that it's had over the past year. So not too bad for Netflix. Charles says right here, I agree, Netflix did a good job. Yeah, they did a pretty good job, in my opinion. Avery says I illegally streamed it. Of course you illegally stream Netflix. Time Lord says, if the labor market is softening and there have been revisions, corrections to previous inflated numbers, should this new data lead to more rate cuts than Powell telegraphed? Yes. One of the arguments next year is that shelter is going to fall off a cliff when it comes to shelter CPI, and we're going to see a little bit more of a crack in the labor market, which should lead to more rate cuts. Right now, we haven't seen a massive crack in the labor market, even though it is softening. So Powell has been able to justify a cut based on, the only way he justified a cut on the press conference 2 weeks ago was because of the labor market. And he was asked multiple times, hey, if inflation's going up and you think inflation will be up next year, why are you cutting? This is why I think either Powell was mad at his fellow Fed presidents or the Fed presidents were mad at Powell. either Powell's mad at the Fed presidents because they didn't vote in a way that would kind of give, in terms of the summary of economic projections, to give him a better like foot to stand on when it came to answering the questions, because they all thought inflation would go higher in 2025, and maybe he wanted them to vote that it would go lower. Or the Fed presidents were like, Jay Powell, you're crazy because you're making the decision on the cut, but none of us think the cut realistically should happen, and you're kind of pressuring us here to give you the cut. And he's the Fed president. You know, a lot of times the Fed members want to, or he's the Fed chair. A lot of times the Fed presidents want to vote in a way that aligns with the chair's beliefs. So I do think that until we see substantial data of inflation coming down, you're going to get a weird way of Jay Powell navigating the next 5-6 months, unless the data is very clear, because the data was not clear, but they still went for a cut. Now, granted, I'm happy they did, because if they didn't go for a cut, you might not see NVIDIA chilling right here, close to the 140s, down about 39.33 in the pre-markets. But if he went full on, 3-5 cuts in 2025, that also would have been a little bearish, because then people would have been like, well, wait a second, what is cracking the economy that's so bad that he wants to do a ton of cuts next year? So it has been such a nuanced, tight line that Jay Powell's had to walk, and just hoping over the next 6 months he's able to keep walking it, and we're able to get rates to come down. Archer above 11. Yeah, Archer's been having just one of the best runs into the end of the year, up another 3% in the pre-markets. Again, this bad boy was $8 on December 20th after everything kind of took a hit, and it was $3 a month ago. So this one has definitely done very well. Ethan says FOMC has to pick their poison, inflation or unemployment. Yeah. And so far they're trying to like not pick any of the poison. And the market's like, no, you got to pick one of them. And Jay Powell's just like, nope, I'm not drinking either one of the bottles. I'm just going to be hoping I can keep navigating this the way I am. And so far it's worked. Oh, Beyonce was at the halftime show, right? I was seeing clips of that. Yeah, I didn't watch that. I did not watch Mariah Carey open either. That's wild. They had Beyonce and Mariah Carey at the halftime show, or at the opening show. That's a lot of star power for a game like this. Andreas, thank you for being here. He says, in the US, are you talking anything about the lawsuit against Samsung and Apple from the Swedish company Need? Cheers and Merry Christmas, man. I did not look up that lawsuit. I'll put it on the list, and we'll see if we can get any coverage on that. Samsung and Apple have been in, Samsung and Apple really started getting into lawsuits back in 2011 when Apple started suing Samsung about the design, the touchscreen. Like if you guys don't remember, in 2011, Apple sued Samsung for stealing the touchscreen design because Apple had patented that design. And Samsung was like, this is ridiculous. Like, we have a whole different operating system. Every phone has a touchscreen. Like, you can't sue us for this. And Apple was like straight up suing. I remember watching this stuff happen in real time. And I was like, damn, Apple doesn't give them any break. But yeah, they've been involved in lawsuits for like 10 years at this point. 10-year, let's take a look at the 10-year as well. 10-year is at, 4.63. Holy crap. Did not see the 10-year at this level. I think the 10-year kind of got close to this on Tuesday, but we didn't really breach above 4.6, or maybe we did, and I didn't see it. But we are healthily above 4.6 on the 10-year. Again, what's crazy about this is creating a little bit of a competition for risk on assets, because why would you buy a stock if you can get 4.635 kind of risk-free on the 10-year, or at least more risk-free than an equity? The problem is most people still think Google or Palantir or an NVIDIA will return better than 4.5%. But if you're managing a ton of money and you want to kind of hedge your exposure to equities, the 10 years out there, and it's not, that uncompelling of a choice. The broader question here is this 10-year being held up for arbitrary reasons, aka an inflation rate that we know is going to come down, but it's not showing that it's coming down. Therefore, CPI and PPI are not reflecting the decreased inflation, and as a result, the 10 years being stubborn. And will the 10-year fall off a cliff randomly in 2025? Because if that happens, I think that would be the biggest macro tailwind to the market. But no one knows yet. And I think that's what Tom Lee's betting on. But until we kind of find that out, we're not going to officially know what happens with that 10-year. Let's finish up that Tom Lee clip, and then we will keep moving from there.
One of the big themes that we just wanted to point out for viewers and listeners out there was this idea that cryptocurrencies will still be a focus, given the focus of the incoming Trump administration. We know that you're bullish on many aspects of crypto, but I wonder if you might take us through where you see the best relative performance in that crypto landscape in 2025.
Investors, at our firm for the last 8.5 years, we have recommended an allocation to crypto, including Bitcoin or Bitcoin and Ethereum. That allocation probably should be much higher in 2025 because the regulatory landscape is actually becoming more friendly. So I think Bitcoin still has to be at the core of someone's holdings, and I see Bitcoin getting to around 250,000 next year. But that would allow Ethereum, which is around 3,500 now, to probably do even better. Ethereum could get to 5,000 or 6,000 next year, and I think this is also probably the year where there's what we call alt season, where there's things like Solana and other altcoins do extremely well.
Tom, if you feel as though, and this is, again, relatively speaking, that Bitcoin is a commodity and that some of the companies that leverage those commodities could be in play as well, much like gold and gold miners, what types of companies are going to be the ones that benefit the most from that crypto expansion if it were to hypothetically happen?
2024 has given us insights. If we look at the best performing equities that are related to Bitcoin, what we would call leveraged stories to Bitcoin, meaning that they're either acquiring Bitcoin as a treasury asset or they're leveraged to the price, have done very well. And that would be things like MicroStrategy, Semler Scientific, and Coinbase. And there are other companies that are sort of doing what Michael Saylor would call the Bitcoin standard, like Mara. But I'd say an investor's portfolio, if they're especially a large cap focus, a company like MicroStrategy, gives you really good exposure to Bitcoin.
Sorry, I was muted. So you have Tom, who's a fan of Bitcoin and who is obviously a fan of Michael Saylor. In the past, he has praised Michael Saylor in terms of this Bitcoin treasury strategy. We know that last week, what happened was pretty aggressive, with Saylor basically asking for 10 billion shares outstanding. That's something the shareholders will have to approve. So on the form that he filed, he's asking shareholders to approve from 330 million to 10 billion shares outstanding. Now, one of the reasons for why he's asking to approve all of this is because obviously he believes that he wants to get as much Bitcoin as possible, particularly before the crypto reserve. And that requires him to sell a ton of shares on the open market. If there's more shares to sell from because they have 9 billion shares outstanding that they can offer to the market, then obviously that's very aggressive of a strategy, but that's also very exciting of a strategy for MicroStrategy because they get to have a higher Bitcoin yield because they can acquire more Bitcoin, even though they believe that, even if you believe that, they're diluting shareholders like crazy, they believe, or at least Saylor believes, that the rate of growth of the Bitcoin yield based on the asset of Bitcoin going higher in price will outpace the rate of dilution on the new shares that are taking away a little bit from that yield, because when you divide the yield across a higher number of shares, that yield obviously has to go down. And that's one of the things that's bullish for the broader Bitcoin sector. Now, let me show you guys this story that I think none of you guys probably heard about, because this story, shout out to Chad, good morning to you, just straight up scam. I think a lot of people are starting to feel the MicroStrategy idea is more of a scam, more of a Ponzi, but you also have a lot of people that swear by that this is not a scam. This is one of the greatest financial instruments of the modern century in terms of how Saylor is navigating this. I think it's going to be up to the markets to kind of figure out which one is true, which one is not over the coming 6 months. But this is one of the things around crypto that is actually good. So not the Michael Saylor thing. That might be good. That might not be good. That's up to you how you interpret it. But what I found out last night. So a lot of you guys probably haven't heard of this story. And if you have, let me know. But this was a deep story that I found late last night. And I was like, holy crap, this is a real thing. So let me start off with this. This is one of the ways that crypto actually works out sometimes. But I'm curious to see kind of what's going to happen with this. So this is a guy who on December 24th posted, if you could press a button that cures your child's brain tumor in exchange for ending your life immediately, every parent would hesitate for 0 seconds before fighting to be a part of it. The cruelest thing is that no such button exists, but there is always a move. And then I think he talks about this GoFundMe that you can participate in that would contribute to research for children's brain cancer. Okay. Pretty wholesome. I mean, pretty much everyone would agree this is something you could spare a couple dollars for, especially because no parent would want to be in the situation where they have kids that are struggling with this. So where am I going with this? This guy ended up getting he put his Bitcoin address, his Solana address last night underneath the post as well. This is 8:42 on Christmas, 8:42 p.m. on Christmas. Someone ends up making a coin. I'll call it a meme coin just because that's the status that it's in. But the idea for why this was created is not meme-ish to me. But nonetheless, it is a meme coin called ticker symbol Mira, MIRA. That meme coin ends up being worth. They sent him 400,000 coins, so I think 30% of the float. That meme coin ends up being worth $18 million in the span of 5 hours, from December 25th, 8 p.m. to, I think he posted this at around 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. at the end of the night. Kind of insane, right? And I'm really curious to see what's happening with this, because this guy, for what he's been saying, he's been slowly profiting, but he's doing it in a way that's public, and he's saying none of this money is going to me and my family. He's trying to take as many profits as he can for the I think the lab is called Hutchinson's Lab that he's donating to. So he says, I know this is a meme coin, I know this is a pump, but to be honest, this has exceeded all my expectations already. Once again, $0 of this have or will go to me directly. Every penny will go to rare disease research. I'm interested in how to make this a sustainable and great for the Solana community. Would love all your ideas. And that was at 10 million at 11:07 p.m. And then by the end of the day, you had it get to 18.8 million. This was at 1:30 a.m. So the question now, it does sound scammy. It does sound scammy. I'm not going to lie. It sounds scammy. From my understanding, this is not someone who's pimping out their kid and their disease to get rich. It doesn't seem like that's what it feels like. It seems like someone started a Solana meme coin community for this rare disease and then used the power of crypto to fund it. If you wanted to go IPO for something like this, right, it would be impossible, but crypto makes it possible. And it's currently worth 18 million bucks. So I think we'll get updates on him throughout the day. I think the smartest thing to do, though, would be to sell everything. Yeah, imagine he sells all $18 million worth of this. He would rug pull a bunch of people if this happens, which would be sad. But if the rug leading to, taking that money and putting it in a good spot, then I think that's not the worst thing in the world. Chad says, no, this guy's a good dude. Yeah, his Twitter account is also pretty vetted over the past 8 years. He's been in technology for a long time. He doesn't seem like the guy to do something like this just to take profit. So here's the question now for everybody. If you're up 18 million and you have a daughter who has a rare brain disease and you have a research lab that needs more funding, not only for your daughter, so there's obviously a little bit of selfishness here, but also for other kids that one day could be affected by the same thing your daughter has, and you could give that research lab $18 million right now, but it would rug all the people that bought the coin, even if they bought the coin knowing that it was for a good thing. Could you kind of justify that, hey, if you're getting rugged, but your money's not going to fund my Lambo, it's going to fund brain cancer diseases, is it kind of okay to be rugged at that point? I feel like this is one of those weird Christmas moral conundrums. If I was him, I would sell all of it, or I would sell as much as I could without getting in trouble. And I would give the money all the way to the brain research, because that's kind of one of those magical things. Like, how does $18 million come out of nowhere? Well, it comes in the crypto market sometimes. And if people are buying it knowing that it can go higher for a good reason, it will eventually come back to zero. I don't think this thing has a community that can stay up forever. I mean, it's just hard to see that stuff happening. I think you sell, because if you're going to lose 75% of it anyway, because eventually the hype will die out, right? The hype is high right now in the first 24 hours. But if there's not a real community behind it, like there is for Fartcoin, unfortunately, well, then it's going to die out. And if it dies out, I think take the profits. I think people would be fine having been rug burned from it. Well, I think the majority of people will. Some people will probably be pissed off because they're actually buying into it for the most sinister reason, to make money off of a coin like this. Unfortunately, there are people that are out there in the world and would want to do it. But if they're actually trying to make money off of it and they get rug pulled, it's their fault. I mean, if you're trying to make money off a coin like this, that's just not the coolest thing in the world. And if the guy can profit $18 million, I'm curious for his updates. He hasn't tweeted since last night. So he's probably sleeping right now. I mean, imagine going to sleep knowing you have $18 million in the bank. It's just, or in the meme. It's just insane. So, here's another tweet we got from somebody right here. against him. And by the way, we got Tom Lee on CBC. We'll get to that in a second. He says, "Hi, I'm the person who sent you 50% of Mira earlier today. When I saw the story about Mira and her illness," that's his daughter's name, "I thought it would be good to buy and send supply to you with the hopes of getting the Saul community behind a good cause on Christmas. I'm really glad that it worked out the way it has, and I hope that the money helps to find a cure for both Mira and anyone else with any condition. Wishing you and your family a wonderful Christmas. God bless, Waddles." Who is Waddles? Waddles, I guess, is some big name in the crypto community. I mean, yeah, dude, if the whole point of getting the coin was to take some money off the table and put it into research, then if I was him, I would sell. And I wouldn't look back on it. Manuel says meme coins are gambling. If you lose all your money, it's your fault. Yeah. And if you lose your money for this reason, it hopefully isn't the worst feeling in the world to lose your money when it comes to something like research, especially if you buy into a coin where the goal is for raising money on research. All right, we got Tom Lee live on CNBC. Let's see his thoughts on what he says, and then we'll get back into the markets,
if at all.
I mean, it's hard to link causality. I mean, for a long time, as you know, outside the U.S., most of the rest of the world is small and mid-cap stocks. I think 95% of all listed stocks outside the U.S. are small and mid-caps. And I think it's the U.S. has really seen companies make the bets in the right places. You know, U.S. dominates technology, healthcare, and financials. Those have really been the strongest industries and the ones that benefit from technology, and the U.S. edge is enormous, right? I mean, outside the U.S., are there thousands or dozens of great technology companies? There really aren't. So I think in 2025, however, if industrials start to do better, then I think Europe and Asia start to outperform. But I think if it's a tech-led market, it's really going to be U.S.
Do you worry? I mean, we showed some of these gains, Tom. Listen, you're Tom Lee. You don't worry about a whole lot of things. But I would say when we're looking at stocks that are up 550% and 300%, okay, there are paradigm shifts which will bring in a lot of money to new things. Is there any part of Tom Lee, not the drummer, that does worry that things are a little bit hot at 40 times forward earnings on many of these, like an Oracle, a name that we didn't talk about much for years?
I mean, at some point, valuation becomes a liability when the market isn't able to be surprised or the market has overpaid for future growth. But to me, the last couple of years is really a story where investors have been underpaying for technology and the amount of innovation. I think 2025 is a year where we're going to find the AI and a lot of these applications actually do sort of re-architect the way America does business, and it's vastly cheaper, and that's why these companies are doing so well.
I think he's right about that. I think 2025, we're not going to see the tech innovation slow down. The question is going to be, will those be deflationary, either by increasing productivity or by taking away jobs from the ecosystem, which would cause less spending? And could that be the solution to inflation coming down as well?
But you're right, Brian. At some point, it's a bubble. I don't really think.
Wow. Huh. So Lee saying, yeah, I think 2025 is going to be good for innovation, but at some point it's a bubble. That's him kind of straight up acknowledging, yeah, at some point valuations could get ridiculous enough, but I think he's not saying that's happening yet.
I think that's the word yet, because I don't find that much ebullience in our clients. I think our clients are still pretty skeptical about valuations, which is why I think valuations aren't really a problem just yet.
One point I'll just raise on the skeptical note, which is on the call for small caps, Tom, which a lot of people were on the small cap bandwagon this year, and there were times where that really worked, but I don't know if December's a preview of what's to come. It's small caps are still down 7% in December as the S&P has gone flat. NASDAQ far outperforming on the year, the small caps. Everyone hoped this was the time where the rally would broaden out, but then when the Fed pared back how many rate cuts it was going to get next year, small caps didn't work. So what makes you think that this will be the year?
Well, that's a really fair observation, Sarah. Small caps really are probably the best expression of when they believe the Fed is cutting for the right reasons, and there was a rug pull in December. I do think your viewers have to keep in mind small caps may not have hit escape velocity yet, but their underperformance for the last decade is 91 percentage points versus the S&P. It's the second worst 10-year underperformance since 1998. And then before
That's
that,
not necessarily bullish. I mean, that
well,
for
actually,
the right
it is very
reasons,
bullish,
right?
Sarah. It's super bullish because if you go back to 1900 and use FAMA data, it's the second worst in history. If you take the 3 worst instances, never have small caps underperformed the next 3 years or 5 years. So what we've done is essentially discounted so much bad news. There's so much skepticism. I think almost everybody that talks about small caps says, well, they haven't worked, so they're not going to work. They're trading at a 10 forward PE. They're going to benefit from deregulation. 49% of small caps are cyclical stocks, which are really primed to do well next year. So I think that the probabilities for a very good year are high at a time when skepticism's high. I mean, isn't that what FANG was at the start of 2023? I remembered how many people said, put a fork in FANG at the end of 2022, they're done. And they just put in the 2 best years I think anyone could have ever expected.
Sentiment is key. And by the way, FANG having a great year this year and a great month too. Thank you, Tom Lee. Appreciate it. Happy holidays. Good to see you. Still ahead.
Yeah.
How will companies use AI in
So Sarah kind of fighting back a little bit against Mr. Tom Lee's small cap prediction. Now, Tom Lee is not necessarily someone who, at least in the past 2 years, has got anything really wrong per se. Pretty much all of his calls have been very accurate. Small caps, unfortunately, he thought this IWM would be at 300 by the end of the summer. It is the end of the year and we're at 223. So this one has been coiling up for a while. He got pretty defensive there because he does still believe that small caps are going to be one of the broader, I guess you could call it, breadth versus depth topics of 2025, and the diversity of the markets will eventually come into small caps. All the numbers on small caps do make sense, by the way. I personally think you got to pick your small cap versus just going with the index, but I would not be surprised to see the index rally next year and see Mag 7 take a little bit of a break. But I also would not be surprised to see more money come into Microsoft, Meta, Google, Amazon, Nvidia, Tesla, and Apple. I want to own all 7 of these names individually next year. I don't know if I'm actually going to initiate positions in all 7 of them, but at least 3 or 4 of them. Like, I want to own these names. These are the best companies in the world that have zero trajectory of slowing down. Maybe their earnings growth slows down, but their rate of innovation and their overall long-term potential is not slowing down. I mean, over the next 20 years, I think these are going to be the companies that the world cares about, unless something happens with them. But it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. So I think one of the debates in 2025, one of the themes, and again, guys, we're going to have our stock market awards on Saturday night, 9 p.m. And one of the questions I'm going to ask is, what are some of the themes you think that we have going into 2025 would materialize into? And one of the themes that one of my answers is small caps versus large versus big tech. Do people actually take money out of big tech to get better returns? Or do people feel safer that their money's in Google, Amazon, Nvidia, Tesla, Meta, Microsoft, Apple over whatever random small cap debt-ridden company that's in the IWM? I think that's going to be very, very important of a theme going into 2025. Not to say that some of these aren't extended. So I do believe Microsoft is maybe, I don't know if you want to say overvalued, but more expensive, right? Microsoft's just extended. Apple, I do think Apple is clearly overvalued, but the street, wants to keep Apple elevated. I think Apple could take a little bit of a pullback as well. I think 258 is extended, and then the market waits until good earnings and then takes them a leg higher. So I could see all these names getting cut by 5 to 10%. I think that could definitely happen, but I still would want to buy those dips over any IWM dip. I just feel like I would sleep better at night knowing I have Mag 7 versus small caps. But they still might perform. They still might ultimately perform long term. Where is Palantir? We got about 5 minutes until the markets open. Palantir right here, 83.20. We do have a new name that joined the Bitcoin treasury strategy, which is Color. Color is one of those small caps in the battery space. Their stock is up 1,100%. If you got into them in the lows and wrote it up, then you have done very well. They just bought $21 million of Bitcoin today. And so these guys are now joining MicroStrategy in terms of becoming a Bitcoin treasury. Yeah, they bought 217 Bitcoin worth $21 million, averaging at 96,556 per Bitcoin. And they are now going to be a Bitcoin proxy. So you've got Riot, you've got Marathon, you've got Rumble, and you have MicroStrategy and Color that are kind of the leading 5 companies in the public markets. And then you have a couple of other smaller ones, but these are some of the main 5 ones that people know about that are buying Bitcoin and putting it on the balance sheet. And I guess we're going to see how that plays out over the next few months if Bitcoin continues to go higher. Why are they buying Bitcoin when they are negative EPS? Well, it's a good question. My argument for why they're buying Bitcoin is because they want more volatility in the stock, which is, again, it's the obvious answer why any company buys Bitcoin. Because one thing Saylor, I do believe, is right about is volatility is vitality. This idea that volatility, the ups and downs of an equity, is what gives it life. And that is fair. I mean, if you're buying options, for example, in a company, or selling options, you need volatility because you need liquidity, and liquidity only comes from volatility. You need to have some level of move in the stock where two parties, buyers and sellers, come in, they exchange the way they think about the name, and you can potentially, if you're correct about the direction, make a significant bet and actually win on that. Color, although the company is very small and they don't really have earnings yet and they're trying to get there, they think that Bitcoin could attract an audience, which is why I think they're buying it. And I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. I do think it's just a little, you got to be a little skeptical as a market participant, just in case, that's the only reason they're buying Bitcoin and there's no other fundamental reason. Like, for example, if Microsoft buy Bitcoin, Microsoft has $100 billion in cash. If they spend $1 billion on Bitcoin, it doesn't really matter. Whereas if you're a company that doesn't have any earnings and you're buying Bitcoin, you obviously are putting a lot of weight to the Bitcoin. And that could be a make or break situation. For MicroStrategy, it has been a make situation versus a break. And some of these other names are hoping to get the same benefit from that as well. We got Netflix right here, down 0.5% in the pre-markets. Nvidia's down 0.5%. Tesla was up nicely overnight, and now it's kind of just flatlining right here. We'll see if that one gaps up as well. People thought Tesla would go to 500 last night. I mean, it was moving. It was on its way to 480. But as soon as pre-markets opened, we kind of saw that those levels get hit. The Qs are down about 0.35%. S&P's down about 0.33, back under 6,000. SoFi down about 0.5%. AMD's down 0.33%. Grab's down 20 bips. SMCI's up 2%. And in the next 2 minutes, we will see how the rest of this market opens up today. Amit, do you think those companies putting Bitcoin in their balance sheet is a recipe for a bubble, or is it the bubble already? It all depends if Bitcoin collapses, right? That is going to be the question of 2025. That's another question, another theme I would have listed: small caps versus large cap. And then, does Bitcoin prove to be a store of value in 2025 to the point where even if you would expect an inevitable collapse on the 4-year cycle, if it collapses back to 95,000 versus collapsing all the way back to like 10,000 like it did last time, I think that would be a win for the Bitcoin community. But how high does it get? Because if you think Bitcoin's going to 200,000, I don't care what the thesis is on the name to go short. The name's going to go up if it's close to Bitcoin. MicroStrategy, Color, Riot, Marathon, whatever it is. If Bitcoin actually goes to 250, which is what Tom Lee said this morning he thinks could happen, those names are going higher. The question is, what's the road to get there? Does it get there? And if it doesn't get there, do sellers do buyers run for the hills, start selling? And does that potentially create a little bit of a bubble in some of the Bitcoin names? But 2025 is going to show us what ends up happening. All right, here we go. Day after Christmas, 3 days left of the 2024 trading year, 9:30 a.m. Thank you, everybody, for being here. The stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. We are back to analyzing the equity markets. Palantir, $82.87 as we open up the markets. We're up about 0.5%, just back there at 83. We did hold 83 last night. Let's see if we can get back to 83, up about 0.74% on Palantir. IWM is down 0.5%, 222. Small caps are down. Archer's up 1.5%. Nvidia is basically green on the day, $140.07, struggling to hold just above 140, but it is so far flat. Netflix is down about 1%. Tesla basically flat to red, 462. So Tesla getting rejected at that 465 level as we open up the markets, but Tesla right there slightly green. Marathon is down 1.6%. Coinbase is down 1.26%. Robin at 39.34. That's a nice little gap up from where it was in the pre-markets. It did hit $40 at one point last night, then went all the way to 39, now at 39.30. Not too bad, down about 0.71%. MicroStrategy 348. That's down another 2.7% as Bitcoin falls from 99 to 95 over the past 12 hours. Dow Jones is down 0.5%. QQQ is down 0.33%. S&P is down 0.33%. AMD is down 0.33%. SoFi is down almost 1%. Grab's down almost 1%. Kohl's is green. Apple, wow, Apple, what the strength on Apple is incredible. 259.60 on Apple. GameStop also getting a ton of love. Oh, how did I forget to mention? Sorry, guys, I forgot to mention this. Our boy Roaring Kitty posted a picture with the present on it. I don't know what this means for GameStop, but he did post this. GameStop right here up 8%. No idea what this means. Some people are thinking it has to do with GameStop. Some people are thinking it has to do with a different stock. But he posted that picture of a present, and I don't know. Maybe it has to do with GameStop. But you got GameStop right here up 7.1%. Palantir now going red, 82.26. Netflix down about 0.71%. Carnival Cruise down about 1.28%. Nike 76.83. Nike slightly green. Google is down. Lennar. This should be on everyone's watch list. Lennar, they're a home builder. If we get any substantial movement in the housing market, even if it takes 6 months, Lennar should be a beneficiary of them. They're down about 1%, and they are trading close to yearly lows. So hopefully, maybe the bottom's not in, but maybe it's getting closer to finding a bottom. Nubank as well, down 1%. Carnival Cruise down 1.28%. Affirm's down 0.5%. Enovix is down 2%. Yeah, a lot of names are red, but they're not like bleeding red. They're just red. Hims is down 1%. Nothing too crazy. Kohler's green, that's up 14% off the Bitcoin treasury strategy they announced today. GameStop is green, up 6%. Microsoft's green, up about 0.5%. And then Tesla's now down 1%. Hood is now down 0.5%. TLT, which has been very annoying for people that felt rates would come down by now. That one is also down another 1%. S&P down about 0.26% currently right now. Is the market closing at 4 p.m. today as usual? Yes, it's a normal day for the market. I don't think there's going to be that much liquidity in this market, though, because I think a lot of people are on vacation right now, spending time with their families. I don't think you have a ton of active traders that are trading. But you do have movement in the markets, and most of the movement right now currently is a bit more red than not. What happened to the bell? It doesn't have the vigor anymore. Over the weekend, I'm fixing the studio setup issue. I already ordered a new mic and a filter and all that stuff. So hopefully on Monday, we're going to start off the new year, or Tuesday. Monday, the market's closed. Monday is January 1st. Sorry, Tuesday. No, Monday. Are we closed on January 1st? No, we're open January 1st, Wednesday. So we're open Wednesday. So Tuesday, we're closed for the 31st. And I believe New Year's Day, we're open. Yeah, so I'll be fixing up the microphone issue, and hopefully the bell will not be as muted. But yeah, January 1st, markets will be open. December 31st, we're closed, if I'm not wrong. And we'll be starting off the new year on Wednesday for equities, which will be very exciting. Meta right here down about 0.5% as well. So you got Meta down. SoFi back over 16. Chat says the bell must have turned 30. Goodness gracious, dude. At least it shows me how much you guys like the bell, because all I heard was complaints. And then once the bell goes away, all I hear is, where's the bell, man? I kind of like the bell. It's like, oh, well, all right. At least we know that people enjoy the bell. Or are we closed on January 1st? Oh, we're closed on, okay, so January 2nd. By the way, the 10-year right here, 4.63. So then we will be back. The last market open will be the 30th, Monday the 30th for 2024. And then we'll be back on Friday. So markets are going to Thursday. So markets are going to open January 2nd. January 2nd, we will be open. So we'll actually have like 3 days off next week. And then we'll make sure we have some streams those days. So we'll still have some stream even if we don't have the market open. But the Thursday is when we'll be back into the grind. And that's when markets will officially be open for 2025. Rumble right here up another 8.3%. So Rumble getting some love. TSM is up about 0.5%. Palantir 82.05, breaking 82, now down below 82 at 81.98, but we're still holding that $80 level, which is very exciting. Tesla as well down about 1.16%. So Tesla's getting a little bit of reversal. Bitcoin holding above 95. Bitcoin not getting hit too bad. Bitcoin above 95. But we do have some of the proxies that are getting hit worse. MicroStrategy right here down at 346. Yeah, we're not closed on December 31st. We have a half day on December 31st. So half day December 31st, and then New Year January 2nd, we will be back into 2025, which is kind of crazy. The idea that we're in 2025 still is it hasn't really sunk into me yet. I still can't believe we have 5 days left of this year, and then 2025 is here. I feel like 2024 was a quick year. 140.70 on NVIDIA. NVIDIA goes green. Where's AMD? But I'm also excited for 2025 and getting into that year. AMD is green as well. So some people are asking, do I think there's a bottom on AMD? I have no clue, because AMD's earnings, for those that follow AMD, usually suck. Like, AMD doesn't have good earnings. They don't grow like NVIDIA. The expectations aren't that good, which actually is a good thing for them, because maybe that means that if they have any good earnings, that'll beat expectations. But AMD does not grow at 50, 70% like NVIDIA. And their earnings calls are definitely not that good either from when I listened to them in the past. So I think for AMD, is there a bottom? It all depends on what earnings growth will look like for Q4. Given expectations have gotten so low, my gut feeling is that this 120 range is the bottom. I could be wrong, but I don't think they're going to massively mess up on earnings, especially because NVIDIA had a good Q4 as well. So AMD should have a decent Q4, even if not as good as NVIDIA. And I think AMD will do well. I think this 120 range is the bottom, especially as we saw it got rejected from that, or it bounced up from that 150 range, 115 range last week. But will it propel on earnings? I think time will tell going into the end of January. Palantir right back above 82, which is not bad. NVIDIA trying to make its way to 141. Tesla 458. Tesla recovering as well. It was down at 454, now at 458. Netflix 927, Coinbase 275, Robin at 3940, not bad on the hood, and then Bitcoin just slightly above that 95,000 level that we are at right now. Bay Ray says, so calls on AMD to be a contrarian. Well, the thing is, I don't think going long AMD is a contrarian anymore because everyone is bullish AMD at these levels. I think puts would actually be like a contrarian on AMD. Like that it would keep dropping lower. It's a phenomenal company. Like AMD is not a bad company. They just don't grow as much as NVIDIA. SoFi above 16, Grab 495, Grab is green as well right now. But I think most people are bullish AMD versus bearish. I think most people are still bullish, or at least the sentiment around buying the dip on AMD isn't. Like if anyone said they bought the dip on AMD, you can't really be like, oh, that's weird. And I think to be contrarian is when you go against the general, oh, that's weird feeling. So if most people aren't saying that's weird, if you're buying the dip on AMD, then the contrarian is you short AMD. But I think there's a reason people are buying the dip on AMD. And because this 120 range seems like historically has been a capitulation range for the name. And that's why it's staying at these levels. Adam says, I bought AMD. Why? So this is a yielding ETF on AMD. I think this is one of the names that pays you like 10% a month or something crazy like that. If you buy this one, MSTR has one as well. MSTY. I think most people are waiting for MSTY. The dividends on this thing are insane. It has an 89% dividend yield. So you're getting a decent return every month. But the only reason they're able to do that is because volatility is vitality, and the volatility of MicroStrategy is what gives these types of yield max option income ETFs momentum. And the problem is if MicroStrategy continues to go down because Bitcoin breaks from this 90,000 range back into the 80,000 range, then the underlying asset can go down even if the dividend is paying very well. So I think a lot of this is still contingent on where Bitcoin ultimately goes. Nike right here is green. Hims just went green by 1.5%. Novo Nordisk after a tough FDA decision last week, they are a little green. Eli Lilly back above 800. That's green. Gold is green today. The VIX is up a little bit today as well. GameStop still up 7.54%. So GameStop still one of the largest winners today. And then NVIDIA struggling to stay green, but it is above that 140 range currently right now. Glitch Life says, Amit, the only reason AMD is down is because people were invested in AI and they chose the tax loss to harvest the weaker position and kept NVIDIA. I don't think that's wrong. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. We're going to see a decent amount of tax loss harvesting over the next couple of days as well. And some of the losers, and again, put in the chat if you have a loser that you are taking profits on. AMD has been a big loser for a lot of people this year. So one argument could be that they're going to buy back in 30 days. They're taking the tax loss harvest for 2024. And they're keeping NVIDIA because NVIDIA has done very well. But I don't know, dude. I do feel like we're close to a bottom on AMD. I don't think this thing goes below 100 unless there's a nice macro pullback. Is the real contrarian thought on Intel? So yes, I think if you go long Intel, you are actually the real contrarian right here, being bullish Intel. I don't know, dude. I feel like I have not done enough research on Intel. I've done very elementary levels of research, but the CEO leaving was good for like 5 seconds, and then the market realized that the company is still super shitty, and like the CEO leaving won't help. I just don't think we've gotten a 10-year vision from Intel. Like a strategic 10-year vision from the new co-CEOs. We haven't really gotten it yet, and maybe their next investor day, that's what they plan to do. But they are behind deeply on the competition in the chip space, especially against AMD. So this one definitely contrarian long, but it's going to take some vision from the new CEOs to get the market to be on board as well. Intel, Davis, why are you long Intel? What's your thesis? Can you give us a 1-sentence thesis? Why are you long? If anyone's long Intel, please give me the 1 or 2 sentence thesis outside of bottoming. Because I don't know. I think Intel's another one that's probably bottoming. I mean, its lowest was 18, which was below its tangible book value. 20 is slightly above tangible book value. So you would argue, well, it's closer to a bottom, but I still think we don't fully know. Kohler right here again, battery tech startup. No earnings, no real revenue, but they are up 30%. They're up now almost 1,200% for the year since they allocated to a Bitcoin treasury strategy, which they confirmed today. That's why they're up 30% right now. Bitcoin is actually below their average. So it's interesting. They're up 30% because they bought it at 96. Bitcoin's at 95. So I guess you got just more momentum of people getting into the name because they think it'll benefit from the Bitcoin treasury strategy. That volatility is bringing life into a company like Kohler right now. SoFi up 1.5%. Not bad on SoFi. SoFi is green. I think the SoFi $15 put for January 17th is still paying a pretty good return right now. So if you think SoFi is above 15 by January 17th, I think you're getting like 2.5% or 3% on that. So that play I think is still green. I know Adam told me that he was looking at that play. Look, I think SoFi does very well next year. I don't know if it stays above 15 going into the beginning of January, and that's not a SoFi thing. I'm a little worried about the entire market before Trump gets sworn in. Kind of how is the market going to deal with the threat of tariffs and the threat of just people selling for profits in January, general January market volatility. But I think by the end of January, mid-February, we're going to get a better understanding of how the market's at least interpreting 2025. And if we are on a trajectory of 7,000, like Oppenheimer and Ed Yardeni and Deutsche Bank said, or if we're on a more stagnated trajectory to 6,500, where we just chop and screw for the rest of the year until we get to the end. It's going to be interesting though, dude. It's going to be really interesting how 2025 starts out. Because I think most of us are pretty bullish for 2025. I think most of us are pretty bullish for 2025. But for now, the market's going to have to determine how this plays out. Lays is suspended. What does that mean? That means they're probably halted. This is another small cap. Yeah, they're suspended. They're probably, sometimes it says suspended, but then it gets unhalted. There might be just too much volume that's affecting it right now. Yeah, 16 million shares. Holy crap. That's probably why it got suspended, because a company under $1 billion having 16 million shares traded definitely will get the SEC to notice what's going on. So that one's suspended right here. We'll see if that one opens up. Haven't heard of that ticker. That one's going green. Maybe some of these names are popping off with GameStop as well. GameStop going green is letting some of the other meme stocks go green as well. Where's Reddit? If GameStop's up, Reddit's up as well. 178. Reddit is green. So you got a bunch of these memes getting a little bit of love right here. That means Hood actually should get some momentum as a proxy as well. Hood 39.55, just shy of going green on Hood. We got to get back to the 40s on Hood. We got to hold the 40s. And hopefully over the next coming weeks, we can hold the 40s. If we have general January volatility, I don't know, maybe the low 30s is where Hood is headed to. But I just think no one knows. I think the first 2 weeks of January are going to be super interesting to see. You know, in 2024, it was kind of the same. The first couple of weeks of 2024 were really good. Palantir 82.65. The one red day we had in 2024 that really began like people worrying was the day of Nvidia's earnings. This was, I think, like February 20th or something. And Nvidia was at $68 a share, down from $80 a share post-split. And a lot of people, including myself, were starting to raise cash because we got worried. And then Nvidia crushes earnings. And then the rest of 2024 pretty much is a straight line up. You have a couple of dips, one in April, one in August 5th, and then one, if you want to call last week's J-Powell presser a dip, then that was a dip. But outside of that, it's a straight line up. And if 2025 really just goes down that route, if we're looking at Tesla 650 by like June or something, if we're looking at SoFi at like $27 or something, like we really get another year like that, it'd just be one of the greatest 3-year stretches of investing in the equity markets. And the question is if that happens again. And I don't know. I just don't know right now. Lunar's up. Is Lunar up? Lunar was up big last week. Yeah, wow. Lunar up another 5.25%. So you got Lunar getting up right now. Arcat, this guy is a drone company. Red Cat right here. They did partner with Palantir. Very, very small cap. Well, they were smaller than $1 billion. I think they were at like 600 million a couple days ago, but they're at $1 billion market cap right here. They're up 14%. They had a pretty decent earnings, even though their guidance wasn't the best, and they tanked on earnings by 20%, but now they're recovering here. So Red Cat getting some love. How the hell is Reddit even over 100? So I think Reddit's overstretched right now, but the reason it's over 100 is because they IPO'd at a $6 billion market cap. And remember, Reddit was profitable last quarter. Reddit was no one expected, the people expected profitability 3 quarters from now. They brought in $350 million of a profit. Or I think, it was $350 million of revenue and like $93 million of a profit. And the whole street was like, wait a second, Reddit's profitable. And then, Reddit actually has the data that is necessary for GPT and Gemini to train some of their models, and they have some exclusive deals. And that's another good thing for Reddit as well. BBAA is up another 100%, or Big Bear AI. Yeah, this one I believe is squeezing. I don't think there's anything fundamental here. I could be wrong. And if anyone thinks I'm wrong, please let me know. But Big Bear AI, they squeezed a couple times in 2023. They squeezed early 2024. If you just look at their chart, they've had a lot of squeezes throughout history. As you can see right here, they got to 470 right here in 2024, March, actually. So 8 months ago. And then they came all the way back down to 79 cents. So we've seen the story by Big Bear AI. If you guys can see that chart right there, it went from basically 80 cents to $5, call it $5, went all the way back down to 80 cents. Now they're back at 418. So is this based on something fundamental, or is this based on a squeeze? I don't know. I think it's more of a squeeze, but if it is fundamental, then that's why Big Bear AI is getting some love. Hood at 39.36. Where's Palantir? Palantir 82.27. Still holding on to the 80s. Yeah, the quantum names are up as well. Quantum kind of moving as an entire industry together. So they are up too. Dude, Palantir's strength above 80 is just, I still think all of us have to be pretty amazed by this. 82.25. Again, you got a lot of the bears that just, I think at this point, they're not even angry at Palantir shareholders. They're just like legit angry at the stock, because like every time they're like, all right, this is the time it's going to come down. It's just like Palantir makes a new leg higher and it stays in that leg. Now if we got to 70, although it wouldn't really be a dip, 82 to 70 is a dip. Like objectively, that's a dip, even if 70 is still, extended valuation wise. So it's funny. It's holding on. Not showing any weakness either, dude. It's really not showing any weakness. Oh, so the earnings miss. So a lot of you guys are asking about that. Yeah, so Amir made a good video about the earnings miss, and I would encourage people to watch that. Basically, and we'll talk about this on Palantir Weekly on Friday. Hopefully, we'll get to do the weekly review. If we can't do a yearly review, we'll still have a regular episode. But if we can get CodeStrap on, we'll do a yearly review. Look, it seems pretty objective that Palantir, based on Amir's analysis, which I think is relatively correct, I trust a lot of the numbers he looks at, is going to miss on EPS. If you look at this chart right here, the market's expecting us to do about 170, something like that. I might be getting the exact numbers wrong, but about 170 million in revenue, or 130 million in revenue, or profit, net incomes. But Palantir has $120 million expense. And that means we're going to do 10 million in net income when you factor in that expense, which would be a 1% net income margin versus a 20% net income margin that we had last quarter. If we didn't have that $120 million SARS expense, we would have, I think, a 30% net income margin, which would be really good. So the question is, all that matters from this is we can't change anything, right? Like the SARS expense was triggered. Employees got to sell stock at $70. Palantir in their SEC filing said that they didn't think this would happen until 2029. That's where the expiration was. So if Palantir didn't get to $70 by 2029, employees would just lose all that money. It happened in 2024, 5 years earlier. Employees most likely took those profits. So that's an expense of stock-based comp that they have to recognize. The question is, the only question that matters for investors is, has the analyst community priced that in? That's what matters. Have the analysts priced that in? And if they didn't price that in, then yeah, there's going to be a nice miss on EPS, and that could potentially send the stock down. If they price that in, and everyone knows that is a legal expense more so than like an actual expense, and that's something Palantir literally has zero control over, then maybe the stock doesn't really care about that, and the other things they care about are revenue, guidance, etc. We will get 2025 guidance, and if we get 35% growth for 2025 guidance, I think the street will be excited. If we get 40% growth, they would be really excited. If we get 29, 28%, the street's gonna have to kind of figure out how they reconcile with that. SoFi right here, 16.15, up 0.81% as well. Doug says that is going to make the algos dump immediately after market. When the numbers post, you may consider buying that dip. And that's the big question. How bad does that dip become? Right? Either, as Ethan says, the one-time expense might get overlooked, or that creates a nasty dip to what, 70, which is that the dip? Does it go down all the way to 50? Does often EPS miss? Like how many expectations do the algorithms have for Palantir given it's trading at this valuation? And what would they have to say to get the algos to be like, dump it, dump it, dump it? There's no way we can hold this thing. Or are the algos actually much more biased towards Palantir and they're willing to overlook something like that? And we keep going further. So this is, I say this every earnings, but this is going to be one of the most important earnings because now the expectations are higher than they've ever been. And you've got this SARS expense that we just don't know how Palantir is going to report it and then how the street's ultimately going to react to it. NVIDIA 139, Netflix 925, Tesla 455. For those who are asking, hey, Amit, are you thinking of selling your Palantir because of that fear? The answer is no. Look, guys, at the end of the day, I don't think Palantir is going back into the 20s or 30s. And so if it's not going back into the 20s or 30s, which is my average is at 21, if we stay above the 20 range, I just have, even Tanner and I were having this conversation last night, or not last night, but like a couple nights ago. And he's like, when are you going to think of trimming? And I'm like, well, there's not a real reason to trim yet. Like I'm trimming a lot of options in the next 4 days, which, dude, that already has a little bit of anxiety for me. We got 4 days left before I get to cash out on these hood options that I've been holding for the better part of a year now. So it's kind of just counting down the days till January 1st. And then we officially lock in those gains. But like, I don't need the money. I'm like the short-term money that I needed was from the hood options. I don't need the money from Palantir. So there's no desire to sell it. B, I don't think we're dipping back to 20 or 30. And if we do, I am buying that dip so hard. But if we don't get there, then even if we dip to 40, 50, that's not like, oh my God, I missed out at selling on 80. Because I think we'll be back to 80 if we get to 40 or 50. You know, I think Palantir will grow into that eventually. It's just that we're there already. So it's kind of like, all right, just chilling and enjoying the view, not too scared about being at these levels. And I think a lot of you guys feel the same way with Tesla. If you've been holding Tesla for a while, do you really feel like selling at 450? No. Even if you've been holding since $100, even if you're up a ton, you're kind of just like, this is a good story. Why would I get rid of it at this point? And so I think holding on to Palantir is not crazy. It's not crazy at all. Yes, Davis, we have a $21 average, not like you that got the exact bottom at $7. And you know, the irony of people who have been watching my channel is they found Palantir when I was already holding the bag, people like Davis, and they got to not buy the bag. They got to buy it at they got to buy the freaking lottery ticket at $7. So this is the other thing, dude. If you have a $7 or $8 average, bro, at this point to me, Robinhood getting hit right here down 2%. I think that's like a $7 or $8 average on Palantir. And I know cost basis doesn't matter as much as share position. I get it. But if you built out your position, like if you have like 10,000 shares at $8, I feel like that needs to be hung up in your house or something. That's like a Mona Lisa or something. Like that's like, come on, bro. If I had 10,000 shares at $8, if I had 80 grand at 22 years old that I was able to dump into Palantir, I would like my kids would look up to that photo every day. They'd be like, that's how dad did it. Like I don't care, bro. I would legit frame it. I would be like, that was the moment, bro. I might do that with the Robinhood options, dude. I might do that with the Robinhood options. Because that's my first real big win in the market, bro. Like real big win on a short time frame that I actually can recognize as real profits. And my parents are messing with me because my parents know about it. And they know in the next 3 days, they're like, so 3 days left. And I'm like, yep, 3 days left. Because we've been making a joke out of it for so long. Because again, I needed Robinhood to be above 25, right? So my mom is trying to watch out for my mental health. She was like, look, even if it's not above 25, it's okay. We love you. You're a good person. You'll be okay. And I'm like, Mom, if it's not above 25, like I'm gonna. She's like, no, you're fine. I'm like, Mom, it's gotta be above 25. And then freaking October earnings, it goes to 23. And Mom's like, it'll be okay. It'll be above 25. I'm like, no, Mom, it better go above 25 because if it doesn't, we're gonna have some issues. And hopefully we stay above 25 till January 1st. Hopefully we stay above 25 till January 1st. But yeah, dude, that's going to be kind of wild on January 1st, actually, or January 2nd, whatever, unleashing those options. It's kind of wild because they've just been sitting there waiting to sell. They're at their max value. They're just waiting. And I just know if I sell them any day before January, the tax hit is going to be like, it's ridiculous. So it is kind of wild. But anyway, the reason I brought that up is to say that I don't want to sell Palantir. There's no reason to sell Palantir. I want to hold these shares for a very long time, and I think any dip is going to be bought. So not too worried about Palantir at these levels. Dave says he had a 745 average, trimmed 15% last week. Thank you, Amit. Thank you, Dave, for keeping up with the channel. And again, for those that are trimming, especially if you're, have a 750 average or whatever, I think it's not the worst idea because this is a great price to take some profits on. But if you're in the $20, $30 average like me, like it doesn't make sense, dude, because I feel like you're not going to get that price again. And if you do, then you got to start You got to start buying that dip if we actually get there. Matt says he bought more Bitcoin. Who's buying the Bitcoin? Who's buying Bitcoin at these levels? Who's buying? I guess this is a Bitcoin dip from 108 to 95. Who's buying IBIT, MSTR? Anyone actually buying the Bitcoin dip in this range? When I bought Palantir in 2021, I made a pact with myself to not touch it until 2025, and now I'm here. Oh boy. Well, yeah, now you're here 4 years later. And the stock is at definitely, I guess, outperformed pretty much everyone's expectations. Someone's saying, Amit, would you buy Hood with some of the options profits? Yes, probably would. Probably would buy some more shares. Dude, I love wheeling Hood because I understand it so well. So I think that's going to be one of the names that I wheel next year as well. Again, it's just one of those names I understand very well from a numerical perspective, even more than a qualitative perspective. So I can tell, when their quarter is not going well or when it is going well. And I think that can help me pick the strikes for my covered calls and hopefully not get under the water. And also help me pick the strikes for puts to potentially get more shares at a better price. So that will be one of the names that we wheel next year. Coinbase at 274, that's down 1.9%. Marathon getting hit, that's down 3%. Where is MSTR? Down 3.8%. Who's buying the MSTR dip? I'm curious about that. Who's buying Mr. Michael Saylor stock at these levels? We got Josh with some puts on MSTR. What price are you going to buy Palantir again? So I've said 50 is what makes it really attractive. But to be honest, that's probably more so 65, I think, just because a drop from 82 to 65 is pretty dramatic in my opinion. And so even though I don't think that's the oh my God, buy the dip price, I think that's the nibble price. It really depends though on earnings. Like the earnings is going to determine a lot because imagine they guide for 40% growth and they fall to 65. That's a screaming buy the dip in my opinion because they just accelerated to 40% growth. Now imagine they guide for 29% growth under 30% and then they drop to 65. You might want to see it get to like the high 50s before jumping in. So it's one of those things where it's really up to Palantir guidance to kind of figure out where this dip lies. But I think right now, objectively around that 60s range is at least a place to nibble if we do fall back. But 50 is where I think I get more excited. 40, I get very excited because 40 is fundamentally below its intrinsic value. But I don't know if we get back to those areas. A lot of people are comparing Palantir to other names that get into the NASDAQ, and then, they compared it to Shopify. Shopify's chart is actually kind of scary. If you look at Shopify 5-year, Shopify got up to 176 from 19. So from 2019 to the peak of 2021, they went from 19 to 176. Kind of insane. Their price to sales was actually larger than Palantir's. They were trading at an 80 times price to sales. Palantir currently right now is at a 70 times price to sales. So Shopify ended up collapsing all the way from 176 to 23. Now, granted, I don't think Palantir is Shopify. I think Palantir is much more nuanced than Shopify. It's in a totally different thematic than Shopify was in. Shopify was in the Cathie Wood growth stocks thematic. Palantir is in the AI thematic. And I think that thematic has a lot more weight to it. But people have been comparing it to Shopify. And I don't know if it has to take that nasty of a decline. I could see it having a bit of red candles and coming back to the 60s. But if Shopify went back to 20, then Palantir would have to go back to like 18. And I don't think that's happening. Which means if that's not happening, then maybe 60s are where we find that dip. But again, last thing I'll say on Palantir is that people are expecting it to have a little bit of a pullback, right? Especially the bulls. And all the bulls that I talk to are like, yeah, we probably will get a pullback. And if that's the case, I don't think you're going to get a lot of people that are going to be upset about that pullback. They're just going to see it as an opportunity, which ironically makes it harder to dip. If everyone sees it as an opportunity, then you get more people that are a little bit more interested in buying that dip. We got CD buying some Bitcoin, buying some MicroStrategy. Karthik says the next catalyst for Bitcoin can come in the form of allowing Bitcoin in retirement accounts. Yes, that would be a big deal. Also, the strategic reserve, we haven't got any updates on that, but Trump is pretty gung-ho on like making that happen. So if he gets into office and passes an executive order of the establishment of a Bitcoin strategic reserve, which I don't know if he has the authority to do, but he might try to do that just to make it look like he does, which still could be bullish for the sentiment around it. Then that also could be a catalyst around Bitcoin. This will be my first calendar year with a big boy portfolio. I did 41%, enjoyed every day with you guys. Congrats on a great year. All congrats to you, sir, on 41% this year, clearly outperforming the S&P 500 and having a good year. And now we just need 3 more days to end out this year. And that's it. The markets are kind of down today, but there's nothing too crazy. I think we get through the next 3 days with nothing too crazy either. And we end out the year All right, let's do this. Let's do this. Put in the chat. Let's do this. So let's do this. So let's do it. Let's make it a little fun. So I'll do a $25 giveaway, Amazon gift card. Put in your best S&P 500 prediction closing price on SPY, not SPX, SPY. So we'll do that, and then we'll see on December 31st, where did we end? So put any number, 600.14, 599.7, and then just make sure you screenshot your answer and send it to me on January 1st, and we'll see. We'll see who wins this one. I think my prediction, I'm going to go 601.27. That's my number, 601.27. That's it. That's my number. Why did I pick that? I like the number 27, and I think above 601 is reasonable. I don't think we go to 6,009. I don't think we go to 615. I think we end out with a moderately basic rally, and we end out at 601. Nothing too crazy. So that's it. Those are the rules. You put in your exact price target. Just screenshot your comment right now on YouTube. And then if you've got it, January 1st, DM me on Twitter with the picture of your comment. And we'll give it out to as many people as win. So if like 5 people win, we'll give out 5 $25 Amazon gift cards. But just make sure to screenshot it and then send it to me. And we'll try to see, can anyone nail this? Can anyone nail this? Wedbush has a new Palantir report. Okay, not bad. Let's see. Did Dan Ives upgrade us again, dude? Dude, if Dan Ives upgraded us again. Dan Ives like, yeah, $100. We were at 75. Now we're doing 100. That would be fun. That would be fun. I don't think he did, but that would be fun. All right, I'm seeing a lot of people at the 605s to 610. So most people think we're not going to have some crazy end of year rally into 61 or 6,200, which I think is fair. We only have 3 days left. We're just above 6,000 right here on the S&P. Bitcoin 95,000. I think 601 is where we close, guys. That's my thought. And I'll be very happy if we close higher. I don't think we're going to close below 6,000. I think for psychological reasons, we are closing above 6,000. I don't think we're going back into the 580s or 570s or 590s in the next 3 days. Let's see. Let's see what happens. eBounds, thank you for the $25 super chat. All right, so we got eBounds right here sponsoring it. I appreciate you. Thank you for paying it forward. That's awesome. So we got eBounds that's sponsoring the gift card giveaway for $25. But we will give it away to whoever gets it in the most accurate way. When are you going all in on Hims, Amit? I'm probably not going to be going all in on Hims. But if you did go all in on Hims this year, it's done very well, especially if you bought the options at like $7-8. I mean, this thing is another SoFi, Robinhood, Rocket Lab, Palantir type of story. Palantir kind of ran away with it going into the 80s, but all of those names started in the single digits and then got up 3-4x into the 30s. And Hims is no different. And Hims, I think, have the most they have the most obstacles on their path to get there, just with all the FDA stuff and the GLP stuff. But Hims is here. It's not doing too bad. Gerald says 601.69. I see what you did there. I should have picked that one. That would have been better. My uncle says 604.10. Mark says 611. Most of you guys are healthily above 6,000, but not crazy above 6,000. So that is kind of where I'm thinking as well. Below 600? I don't think so. I think we get above 600. I think we get above 600. Amit, what about Open Door? Any new discussion with you, Steve and Chris? Look, I like Open Door as a concept. The problem is we don't know when the housing market is coming back. And that's why Open Door is below $2 right now. Open Door looks cheap because more than half their market cap is cash. The problem is if you actually go down Open Door's numbers, their gross margins are horrendous. Like I've never seen a company with these types of gross margins doing the volume that they're doing. In 2022, they did like $30 billion in revenue and they made like $80 million in profit. It's almost like Walgreens numbers. Like it's really bad, dude. So I think Open Door, until they increase their gross margins and until the housing market comes back, there's not really a big tailwind for them. I think the home builders are better than the home buyers because again, iBuying as a concept also. There's a reason Zillow got out of that business. Zillow is, they realize that's just not as profitable versus being the marketplace. So I don't know. I think Open Door will be okay, but it's going to take time for them to really, really, really show the market that people are coming back to housing. What else do we have going on? Where is MicroStrategy still down 4%? Bitcoin 95,000, HOOD 3922, Tesla 459, Reddit 177, AMD 125, Palantir 80, 190. All right, so where do we think Palantir ends? What number do you think Palantir ends on 2024? I think we end above 80. It's been 3 days of holding 80. If nothing happens today, I think we'll hold above 80 today as well, which means then we have 2 days left. I think I'm gonna go 82.27. I'm gonna keep 27 at the bottom, and I'm gonna put 82 at the top. 82.27. That's my prediction on Palantir. And again, for the S&P prediction, just keep a screenshot with you, and whoever gets closest to the number, we won't do the exact number. Whoever gets closest to us, you can DM me. So if you are relatively close, if you're at like 603.78 and S&P is at 603.71, then you're pretty close. So just keep the screenshot of the S&P comment. And if you are relatively close, like within a few cents, then we'll do the giveaway. And I'm sure we'll have some winner because we got like 100 different answers here. So we'll have someone who wins, unless the S&P goes to like 650 or if it goes to 550. So if we don't have any dramatic swings, we will have someone here. Most of you guys are saying above 80. Some of you guys are saying below 70 or below 80, 78, 79. I wouldn't be surprised if it was there. But I think in that 82, 83 range, that's what we get for Palantir. Which wouldn't be crazy. How do we DM you on Twitter? At Amit is Investing. Just DM me on Twitter. Direct message on Twitter, and that one should be the easiest way to work. All right, so Palantir 81.89, Bitcoin being stubborn at 95, not really moving from here. Big Bear AI is up 10%, Red Cat's up 18%. That one's moving. Shopify's up a little bit. Coinbase is down a little bit. SoFi 16.11 on SoFi. Apple is at 258. Rocket Lab's at 26.77. Let's check on the SoFi options. Let's see how those guys are doing. They were up like 450% at one point. They're up 390%. So SoFi options are good. Have not sold out of the SoFi options. We're letting these bad boys run. Honestly, should have bought a lot more at the time. But that's in hindsight because now SoFi is at 16. But yeah, these are performing really well. They're in the money on the long end of the spread. So now we kind of just got to give them time to play out. Grabs at 494. That's doing okay. Tesla 457. Hood 39.15. And then Palantir 81.75 currently right now. All right, here's Goldman Sachs. They just made some predictions on what to expect in 2025 for AI. Let's take a listen to them, and then we will keep going from there.
For artificial intelligence, what is in store for next year? I don't know. Kate Rooney probably knows because she read the Goldman Sachs report. It's great to see you, Kate.
Great to see you. Great to be here in person, guys. So I did speak to the bank's top tech executive. He shared his outlook on AI for next year. I spoke to Goldman's chief information officer, Marco Argenti, exclusively on the topic. He spent the bulk of his career at AWS, Amazon Web Services, and Nokia back in the day, now handles Goldman's AI efforts. We first talked about what happened this year. He said right now in AI, it feels like the emergence of cloud when he was at Amazon, but faster. He says he's never seen anything like this in terms of the pace of development. He said the biggest surprise this year was this tech moving beyond things like chatbots into multimodal, which is pretty much a fancy way of saying AI that generates images and video. Says that next year, Fortune 500 companies are going to start to deploy this in a much more impactful way, and it eventually will evolve into what he calls a new hybrid workforce with AI agents working alongside people.
You might think of a future of a workforce where you're going to have managers that are going to manage both human employees and AI employees. You might have the role of human capital management functions that are going to become human and machine capital functions that are going to be working on both evolving the career of humans and also evolving the career of AIs.
Argenti says there will be an emergence of AI experts that have a very niche, specific type of industry knowledge. So think of banking, for example. In the case of Goldman Sachs, he is expecting major robotics breakthroughs as well. Says AI safety is going to become a bigger priority on company boards, not just for regulators. And then large language model commoditization, he says we're going to see, he described it as many cars, fewer engines, the engines here being the underlying models. As that happens, the data the companies train off, he says, are going to really start to emerge as an edge, guys.
Is it going to change the world now, or because it doesn't seem like it's quite ready for prime time yet?
That's one of the big predictions. I think this is also part of the AI narrative and the valuation story, that it's got to help margins at some point in order for this narrative to continue. So I think there's a lot of pressure for this to actually start to impact.
I think that's the biggest thing in 2025 as well. We need margin expansion. And in order to have margin expansion, AI needs to show a real ROI. And that's going to be the big thing for Palantir, dude. Palantir is already showing results, but if they can actually point to their customers legit having real margin expansion, that's when things get very, very exciting. And so far they haven't, we've seen some elements of margin expansion, but not massive levels of it. And I think that's why people are a little bit, scared on the potential of AI in terms of, is there going to be a real ROI? But eventually you would imagine that expansion comes, and that's going to be great for GDP. That's going to be great for productivity. That's going to be great for inflation, but it's going to be necessary. And if it doesn't happen soon, I think people are going to be wondering, well, why are people buying all these NVIDIA GPUs? So I think that will happen. It'll take time. The AI models are only getting better and better and better. S&P 500 down about 25 bips right here. Also, we saw last week NVIDIA invested in XAI. So you have NVIDIA propping up Elon's startup. XAI is getting a lot better. Grok is getting really good, using it every day. And the beautiful thing about Grok is they have access to basically 500 million people at a touch of a button. Because now if you tweet MicroStrategy just below, or just trying to get maybe below 340 right here, you can tweet something with a Grok image, or you can press Grok on a post and it'll give you the summary of the post. Like, there's a lot of different ways that Grok is being integrated into Twitter. And that is giving Elon an advantage on getting more data to train off as well. That's the other good thing about Grok, is they have so much data they're training off every single day because everyone's tweeting. I wonder if OpenAI has access to any of those tweets, or if XAI, Elon completely shut off third parties from getting access to it. Because if they did, then Grok just has access to most of the real-time information, which I think at least is beneficial for those that want to get news immediately on anything that's happening in the world, especially if they're using Grok as their assistant to get the news. Kohler right here is up 30%. So the Bitcoin treasury strategy is still working out for them. Volume is 37 million on this one. Again, this one was trading for pennies just a month ago. Now it's at $4.47, mainly based off hype from the battery tech company. I believe they showed some progress, got a lot of people excited about it, interested about it, had a bit of a run. And then this Bitcoin treasury strategy is definitely solidifying a little bit more of the run for them right here. That's why they're up 32%. American Airlines is down a little bit. Clean Spark down 1.64%. I wonder if the TSA numbers are out for how many people traveled yesterday. Let's see. Do we have those numbers for Christmas? Yeah. All right. So it was actually lower than 2023. So a little bit less traveling. So here's the numbers for TSA. These are the amount of people that traveled through airports in 2024. So yesterday, 2.03 million people traveled. In 2023, it was 2.6 million. And on Christmas Eve, it was 2.068 million. In 2023, it was 2.665 million. Now, on the 22nd, we had 2.8 million. 2023 had 1.9 million. And the 23rd, we had 2.7 million. 2023, we had 2.08 million. So it looks like a lot of people started traveling on the 22nd and the 23rd instead of the 24th and the 25th, if they were like going for vacation or to see family. And that's where you have a little bit more discrepancy on the traveling. Healthy numbers, though. Healthy numbers in regards to the airline industry. You got a lot of traveling that's taking place. That's also really good for cruise lines. I mean, if that many people are traveling, you would imagine from Carnival's earnings, people are definitely going on cruises as well. And a lot of those flights are to go to those ships that they have to get on to go on the cruise. So we do have money that's in the system that is being spent. We got Grindr right here, 1775. This thing broke 18 in the pre-markets a couple of days ago for like a little bit. It was at 1850. So at 1775 right here, up 0.16%. Grindr is going to end out the year up about 60%, which is not bad. And next year we'll see kind of how they can continue to gain momentum. Airbnb is still flat. Nothing from Airbnb, 134. Google at 197. Shopify 109. Palantir holding 81. Tesla 458. And then Robinhood just above that 39 level. Fuel prices dropping will help. That is correct. Now, Brent crude was up a little bit today. So was WTI, but we're still holding right in that 70 range, which is which is good, man. Not getting, if we got to like 80, inflation would really get out of hand. Because right now, one of the things that's keeping inflation down is oil. So hopefully that stays below that $70 range. And again, that's going to be great for input costs across the entire economy. I like Sam Altman. His feud with Elon is the best side story ever. It's definitely an exciting story. He actually has a new podcast a couple of days ago, and he was talking about the story. And OpenAI's argument is that Elon wanted to make it a profitable company, and then once Elon realized that they're like that OpenAI wasn't going to give him that unilateral control, he also wanted to mix it with Tesla. That's when he decided to leave the company back in 2020. Now, how accurate is that? I don't know. That's their version of events. Elon has a different version of events, but it is one of those things that I think they'll be going back and forth on forever. The one thing Elon has that Sam Altman doesn't have is Trump's ear. And that's one of the things that's obviously very important. Speaking of Trump, let's get an update on software stocks and some of the names that might benefit from a Trump administration.
They bet on software over semis in the new year. Seema Modi joins us now with some of the key winners. That would be a reversal in some ways from this year, Seema.
That's right, Sarah. Even with the run-up in software stocks, a number of analysts and strategists think that there are still a number of tailwinds that could fuel this rally in 2025. There are some new channel checks conducted by Evercore ISI that shows a higher willingness amongst clients to spend on technology this year versus last, with about 40% of respondents indicating that their tech budgets are expected to increase by 11% in the coming year, while yes, Gen AI is playing an important role in the growth story. Evercore says the broader shift to digitization across the economy continues to drive demand for software solutions. Analysts there also add that hyperscaler spend will also start to benefit the cloud players in 2025 as the focus turns to not just buying the GPUs and building the infrastructure, but monetizing the software layer of AI. And as it relates to AI, ServiceNow offering large customer metrics on their most recent call, which suggest now that their AI product Assist is seeing revenue cross $100 million in just 3 to 4 quarters. Salesforce noting 200 wins in the first week of Agentforce, while Snowflake now accounts for more than 400 accounts using its AI product Iceberg. So those are some use cases of where companies are actually talking about the progress that they're seeing. Wall Street is also gauging what influence Silicon Valley leaders will have on the White House, with now a number of former executives joining Trump's team. You know, in addition to Tesla CEO Elon Musk, there's David Sachs of PayPal and former Andreessen Horowitz partner Sriram Krishnan, who was just appointed a policy advisor on AI. We spoke to ENIAC Ventures. He thinks, and the team there thinks, that Krishnan will speed track, sort of fast track the implementation of guardrails on AI, which he in turn thinks will help companies speed up their development. Guys, back to you.
Very interesting cabinet.
By the way, speaking of Trump and some of these companies that are going to be working with Trump, we do have the All In pod that actually talked about Palantir for just a little bit right here on their Christmas special. So I believe it starts right around here. Let's get to this part and let's take a look at this.
Surprise. Did you have a business surprise over there, Saxy Poo?
I said Palantir was the biggest business surprise this year. I mean, I thought the company would do well, but its stock went up 5x this year, from $16 a share to 76.
Completely counterintuitive. The market cap of Palantir just passed the market cap of Lockheed Martin. The amazing counterintuitive thing about Palantir was how much time they spent with their customers. Everybody shat on that idea, and they were totally right. Totally right.
So were they your biggest surprise as well?
No. My biggest business surprise are GLP-1s. I think the number of markets that it...
So we'll go back to that in a second because I want to hear Chamath's explanation. But what he said about Palantir, I think, is very, very important because, again, everyone absolutely shat, in the words of Chamath, on the idea of Palantir working with their clients. And, you know, it's super counterintuitive to actually give a crap about your clients. But when you do, maybe good things can happen. I think of it the same way as a content creator, right? Do you actually care about your audience, or are you using your audience? Do you value your audience? Do you respond to them? Do you actually want to engage with them? Are you grateful for the fact that they're taking time out of the day to spend time with you, and do you want to give back to them? Or are you just using them? And I think in the short run, it takes a lot of work to work with your clients, to work with your audience, to actually, build a relationship. But in the long term, you're winning because you actually have people that care about you. You actually have clients that want to continue paying for your services. And that's the dirty little secret in Silicon Valley that these software companies got wrong, I think, over the past decade, which is they found out, hey, we can make the shittiest piece of software and we can sell it 1 million times every single month if we just build a big sales force, even if it's not delivering value. Palantir just went the totally opposite direction. And they built a culture that actually cares about delivering results that was interpreted as a consulting firm. Last time I checked, consulting firms don't have 85% gross margins. And that's why Palantir is sitting at these levels, with the market very excited about what they're able to do. So I think it's the right way to do it. It's the absolute right way to do it. And, you could say the valuation is extended, but the market has definitely seen through the other software companies that are doing it the wrong way, and that probably will continue to do it the wrong way because they actually care about your customers. Takes a whole different cultural paradigmatic change. And you have to have that culture built within to get to that point. Bitcoin, 95,800, trying to get to 96. Shopify at 109, S&P at 600, still holding above 6,000. Robin at 39.33. Then you got Palantir right here, 82.15 right now. All right, let's finish what Chamath was saying about his biggest 2025 surprise. I actually didn't watch this podcast. I just knew they mentioned Palantir. So let's listen to what some of the guys said about their biggest surprises this year.
It seems to help. This year, it went from weight loss to cardiac fitness to depression to drug addiction, alcohol. I mean, it's basically a wonder drug of wonder drugs.
And also, I think you might be interested, they said it can help with compulsive gambling as well, Chamath.
That is why I am not on a GLP-1.
I don't have a problem. Okay, Freeberg, do you have a surprise?
I was surprised by the return of kind of the long tail of crypto.
Okay.
It's come roaring back, and everything seems to be on fire again. No comment from the crypto czar, I know, but
Crypto comeback is
crypto comeback. The long tail crypto comeback. I feel like Bitcoin was always a different story, but the long tail's got a different.
I looked at it, and I always love great products. I picked Google. Everybody was talking 2 years ago about how Google was falling behind and 10 blue links weren't going to work. The Gemini app is absolutely fantastic. I've been using Gemini app. It's as good or better than ChatGPT.
Do you J trade Google shares?
I J trade some shares. Yes,
Fuck.
I J traded some Google shares. Also, Waymo, also delightful. And, they had a rough year with some of that woke imagery in Gemini, but I think they had a great rebound. So.
Waymo's a really good story.
Yeah, I think
Waymo felt like, it's like, what is that business a year and a half ago, 2 years ago? And I don't know, I've been taking Waymos around the city. You don't come to the city.
My sister and my brother-in-law are visiting this weekend.
There they are. Hey, how you doing, guys?
And they took a Waymo yesterday, and I saw the video. And basically what you have is my brother-in-law, who's like totally blown away, my sister, who's like cautiously optimistic, and their 2 kids who are like pinned to the back in fear because they're like, who is driving this? And my brother-in-law, who's Indian, he's like, don't worry, there are people like us somewhere driving this car.
That's actually hilarious. That's actually funny. That's actually really funny. I've still never been in a Waymo. So maybe when I come out to California, I got to try out the Waymos of the world and see what it looks like. But yeah, what would you guys say? What is your Bitcoin trying to get to 96? What is your biggest surprise in business this year? What is your biggest surprise in business or in the stock market this year? A name, a moment, a company. What would you guys say? David says, yeah, that was an amazing impersonation. I don't even talk like that, dude. My Indian accent is so bad. It's just like not good. I wish I had a better Indian accent, but I don't. I don't have a good one. Biggest business surprise in 2025. A lot of people saying Palantir. I'm Beneficial saying Robinhood. Robinhood was definitely a surprise. I think Robinhood and Palantir, I mean, I hate to say it, but both of them were the biggest, I think, surprises of 2025. I mean, Robinhood to 40, did not expect that. Palantir to 80, did not expect that. So I think those are surprises. I think Tesla, you could argue, was a surprise as well, right? I mean, Tesla almost to 500 when it was in the dumpster in April. I don't think that many people saw that happening. Reddit was a surprise. Oh, Powell's speech every freaking time. A-class entertainment, bro. Powell's FOMC speeches have legit been enter-freaking-tainment throughout the entire year. I mean, it's just like must-watch TV. You got to watch him. You got to watch him argue with the reporters and barely crack a smile. Quantum names, that's a surprise as well. Bitcoin 100K. Well, I feel like Bitcoin 100K was a surprise, but I feel like a lot of people thought it would happen, right? Like by the time we got into the 85s and 90s, I think a lot of people thought it would happen. I remember I was at the hotel for the Robinhood event. I was just finishing up some work, and then I got the notification. It was like, I think 9:40 p.m. or something, 10 p.m. And it's like Bitcoin is above 100K. And I was like, what? That's it? That's what it feels like? The 100K? It's just there? It's like there was no buildup. It just randomly went. And then it went to 104 last night too. So that definitely was a bit of a surprise. Powell's speech is better than the Swiftie tour. 100%, bro. Powell's speeches were better than Taylor Swift on tour. I mean, you gotta kind of take a look at how much money is tied up into every syllable that Powell utters. And we saw that last week when he uttered the wrong syllables, and we saw markets go down. 82.42 on Palantir. Palantir going back to the green. Currently here right now. Soundhound was also a big surprise. Soundhound. Dan Ives, a fan of this one. Soundhound 21.75. That's up 7% today. We do have an upgrade by Mr. Dan Ives on Apple. Let's read that real quick. So he upgraded Apple from 300 to 325. So he thinks it's going way beyond 4 trillion at this point. Dan Ives said, we believe Apple is heading into a multi-year AI-driven iPhone upgrade cycle, and it's still being underestimated by the street. The consumer AI revolution goes through Apple. I don't think there's anyone more bullish on Apple than Dan Ives. I really don't. And look, he's probably going to be right, because there's no way people are going to access AI until it happens through the phone. Even my mom, dude, the other day, we were talking about ChatGPT, and she was like, so what is ChatGPT? Right? Because she's been using it in school here and there, but she didn't really understand the technology behind it. And, I tried to explain it as simply as I can, which is that there are these things that NVIDIA sells called GPUs, and those graphic processing units are training on all the world's data, so that when you type in a response, the transformer inside of GPT can actually come up with a meaningful, or when you type in a query, the transformer can come up with a meaningful response, and then consolidate a whole host of different ideas that they can provide to you. And then it learns more based on their memory feature when you engage with it. And she kind of understood it, kind of didn't understand it, but she's waking up to ChatGPT. And a lot of people will. And again, if it's integrated with Siri on the iPhone, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people that don't even know that ChatGPT is a thing, that are going to experience it for the first time. Red Cat right here up 20%. Reddit's flat on the day. Big Bear is up 7%. And that's bullish for AI. Very bullish for Apple as well. Imagine when AI gets memory, our phones will become our mobile personal assistants. Yeah, this is what I was saying last week. Is like if you have to get a flight to California and your phone has an AI agent integrated with Apple, your calendar, your American Airlines account, etc., and it just books it for you and just sends you the email, knowing that you have to go there. You don't even have to say, hey, at this time, book it. It just does it. That is going to create a level of productivity we haven't seen before across the world. But for AI to do that, it's got to get really good, which means I think we're looking at GPT-6, GPT-7, looking at 2 or 3 more generations for AI to get that good at autonomously executing tasks in a meaningfully, in a significant way that offers meaningful results to people. GameStop right here up 4.7%. And then we don't know how many tasks might be automated in our life, dude. We don't know how many different things that people just have to pay someone to do or take time out of their day to do. SoFi up 1.8%. Might just get automated away because of AI. And if that's the case, I think Apple will definitely get some benefits. Why does no one ever talk about App 11? So we've talked about App 11 before. This is one I think a lot of people missed, including myself. This one's up a good 8x for the year. I still don't fully know what App 11 does, quite frankly. But they were completely they thought they were going to be dead. If you look at their max chart, they were at 94 in 2021, went all the way to $9, kind of similar to Carvana. They went up a lot, then they came back all the way down, almost 80%. And then they just started executing, and you got into the bull market. You got a lot of people excited about them. Price of sales of 26, so the name definitely is a bit expensive right here as a software name, $114 billion market cap. But they've had an incredible year. Palantir as well, 82.40, still holding above 82. They've had a strong year as well. S&P above 6,000, still holding 6,000 on the S&P. I'm thinking of investing into Grok. I believe they are going to be massive in 2025 and 2026. I like Grok. We're not talking about the Elon's Grok. We're talking about GROQ, which is an inference training company. I don't hate that as a private investment if you can get into that deal. I mean, I think eventually that company IPOs or they get bought out because what they're doing is too important when it comes to inference training. So their valuation is probably going to be trading at a premium, though. You're probably not going to get shares for cheap buying into it at this stage. But I do think in a few years they're going to be good. Also, OpenAI just gave their employees some of the best exit liquidity ever. So SoftBank is buying up 1.6 billion of OpenAI stock. So as a result, OpenAI is letting their insiders sell a decent amount of money. And so a lot of employees are cashing in on close to $10 million per person. So take a look at this right here. Around 400 OpenAI staffers are about to have a very Merry Christmas, with SoftBank offering to buy their shares at $210 each, up to $10 million per person. 1.6 billion SoftBank is trying to get in exposure at a $157 billion valuation. Now, SoftBank tends to buy when things are proven to be legit entities. SoftBank's not coming in at the earliest stages, obviously, on OpenAI. They're willing to buy it at 150 billion market cap. Masa-san probably believes OpenAI is going to $1 trillion, which is why he wants to get his money in right now. I still think 157 billion is definitely aggressive as a valuation. However, OpenAI does have the best models for now. Maybe that changes, but in terms of models, they have the best ones. And if they keep that competitive lead, maybe that's what they need to keep raising at these levels. But I do think the training is going to get more and more commoditized. More and more. Where's Kava? Kava, that one had a good run over the past couple weeks. Kava, well, actually, I meant good run over the past couple months. It's taken a little bit of a dip over the past couple weeks. We were at, we got to 172 on November 29th. So the much needed pullback. At 172, I think each location was valued at $50 million in Kava. And I don't know if Kava deserves to have $50 million per location as their average price, but great stock, great company. They are growing. They're growing like a tech company. They're growing like 40% year over year, but stock is down from that 172 level back to 116 currently right now. Is it a good time to buy Tesla? Well, look, I mean, I think it's always a good time to buy Tesla if you believe in a real long-term thesis. I do think that my strategy on buying Tesla would be selling puts on this thing. I wouldn't flat out buy it at 460 just because of the momentum it's had. But I think puts at 400, 410, not the craziest idea. Look, I think Tesla's a winner in 2025, dude. I think Tesla and Palantir continue to win. It's just the bear case on both the names, I think, rely more on macro and crappy earnings execution versus anything fundamental. Fundamentals are pristine for these names. Also, my UBS video, I still haven't been able to release it yet. That's either going to come out today or tomorrow. We're going to go in depth on that $80 price target that Palantir got. UBS giving it that price target to me just was, it was one of those things where I was like, wow, Wall Street's really catching on. Like, it's not just Bank of America or Dan Ives anymore. It's like a lot of people are starting to see this name and they're still figuring out a way to justify the valuation, even if they think that $80 is expensive. And same thing for Tesla. Tesla's been upgraded out the wazoo over the past couple of weeks. I don't think that's stopping. And if that's not stopping, Tesla should benefit. Also, Q4 is going to crush for Tesla. They're absolutely going to crush the Tesla because deliveries, I think, have just been incredible in terms of the amount of people taking advantage of the discounts. By the way, Elon posted this yesterday. I don't think this is Grok. I think this is real Elon. I could be wrong, but the caption is Ozempic Santa. And this is Elon in a Santa costume. I think it's real. It doesn't look like Grok. I think it's real. So I guess Elon's lost weight. I don't know if he's using Ozempic or not. Maybe he is, maybe he's not, but you got Ozempic Santa Claus from Mr. Elon Musk. Amit, I hope we can be in the Bay Area. I've been watching you since the old days. I will definitely give updates on the Bay Area meetup. That should be happening mid-February. So that'll be happening. New York for January, Bay Area mid-February. And for the people that are in that Palo Alto, Berkeley area, that's probably where it'll be. So we might even just do it at Stanford, bro, around that area. I've been to downtown Palo Alto so many times, bro, so many times. So I kind of know my way around the area. Like actually, there's a local Starbucks that I think I've been there at least 50 times in the past couple of years, maybe more. So I think that would be a great area to do it at. And maybe closer to Berkeley as well. So we'll figure out where that looks like. And then we'll do SoCal later in the year. We might not be able to do Los Angeles in February, but we'll definitely do SoCal later in the year. You know where I want to go back to? I want to go back to the what's called Santa Monica Pier. I haven't been to the Santa Monica Pier in I think 5 years. That place is cool. That place is beautiful. I haven't been there in a long time, but Santa Monica Pier is absolutely gorgeous. I think I went to a steakhouse a couple years ago near that area as well. Joby's up. Is Joby up? Joby is up 9%. Archer as well. Archer and Joby really just great outperformers towards the end of the year. Archer now up 1% of the day, 1.6, and then Joby up almost 10% on the day. SoFi at 1640, not bad. 1639 right here on SoFi. SoFi's doing its thing. Just bought some 750 calls for Jan 2027 on Grab. Hope they print. Only 1% of my portfolio count, so low risk, I guess. Yeah, I think 750 on Grab in 2 years, you're going to be in a good spot. I personally think it'll be good. Again, look, Grab's being held down because they had a great earnings, but they ran up 70%. And I don't think the market wants this to run even further. You know how we talk about market makers like stopping stocks from going up or maybe making stocks go down or kind of controlling the market? Some people agree with it. Some people don't agree with it. I found this video last night, and it was a video of a day in the life of someone who works at Susquehanna Group, as a trader. And it was that video, and it was actually the other thing I was watching is the Stephen Cohen documentary. I think PBS did a documentary on Stephen Cohen at Point 72. I didn't realize how many people were caught up in insider trading allegations after 2008. This was around 2011, where Stephen Cohen, who's the owner of the Mets, he's one of these like $30 billion net worth. His hedge fund owned a subsidiary company called SAC Capital or SAC Global, something like that, SAC Global. And that company was caught up in one of the biggest insider trading lawsuits back in 2011. And so to kind of sum it up and shorten the entire documentary, essentially there were these places called expert networks. That's what they were called, expert networks on the street. And expert networks were filled with people who had connections to employees inside public companies. And so imagine you're some like mid-level software engineer that signs up to be part of this expert network. Let's say you're at Google, and you discreetly are communicating with the hedge fund guy inside of your part of the network, telling him about what's happening with Google. And that hedge fund guy is selling that advice to other money managers that want to get the information to figure out what to do with Google stock. And so the biggest example here was when Goldman Sachs got a $5 billion investment by Warren Buffett. This was, I think, 2011, if I'm not wrong. Goldman Sachs right here down about 0.62%. At 3:58 p.m., the documentary was showing one of the hedge fund managers got a phone call, 3:58, 2 minutes until the market closes. And the guy called him and he was like, something good will happen to Goldman Sachs tomorrow. And he drops the phone. He buys like 500,000 shares of Goldman Sachs at 3:58, 2 minutes before the market closes. And then within 20 minutes, the Goldman Sachs news comes out and boom, the guy makes millions of dollars because Warren Buffett invested. Kind of crazy, right? Like this stuff does happen. It's a real thing. And so people say it's conspiracies. It's like after I watched that documentary, I'll put the link in the chat so you guys can watch it. I was like, nah, dude, I don't think this is a conspiracy. This is like, and people went to jail for like 15 years that were involved in this once the government figured it out. But Steve Cohen didn't go to jail. So Steve Cohen somehow escaped jail because the market didn't have enough evidence to prosecute him, or the prosecutors didn't have enough evidence to go after him. But a lot of his subsidiaries did. All right, put the link in the chat so those you guys can watch it there. It's called Before the Mets, Steve Cohen Was the Hedge Fund King. This is what it looks like, PBS Frontline. It's pretty exciting stuff about how markets internally work. But it is real. It is definitely real when stuff like this actually happens. Where is Rocket Lab? Are we green on Rocket Lab? MicroStrategy was a big surprise. I agree. MSTR was definitely a big surprise. RKLB, 4.6. All right, we're up on RKLB. SoFi as well. Great day, 2.3%. SoFi trying to make its way back to 17. Tesla 460. Kava down 2%. AppLovin's up a little bit. HIMS is up 3%. MSTR now down 3.7. Bitcoin just below 96. Hood 39.32. And Palantir still holding $82. Steve Cohen was the template for Axelrod and Billions for a reason. I didn't know that. I feel like I should have known that. I didn't know that. I stopped watching Billions after season 1. It got boring to me. I'm sorry. I know people will hate me for that, but it did get boring to me. But the first season, there was just too much talking in Billions, dude. I wanted to see action, and they weren't just building up the characters, bro. They were like building up the characters. I was like, dude, I don't care this much about these characters. I just want to like see, like, I want to see Bobby Axelrod go short on a name and make $1 billion. Like, that's what I wanted to see out of the show. And they're talking about his personal life. I was like, dude, I don't care. I just want to see some cool shit happen. That's why I like Squid Game. Squid Game is just action. I've yet to see season 2 yet, so we're gonna see today if it lives up to the hype. But yeah, Billions is a good show. Just a bit too much talking to me. Andrew Ross Sorkin wrote Billions. Yeah, dude. Andrew Ross Sorkin is a OG in the finance world, dude. He's done a lot of stuff when it comes to finance. He also documented the 2008 crash, all that stuff. SoFi 1638. But I guess he wanted a lot more talking than usual because it just got way too much to me. Okay, let's get an update on tech. We got some of the suits talking about where they think tech is going next year. Let's get a small update on that, and then we'll keep going into the market open.
$1 trillion market cap. Now, if you're counting at home, Apple needs to hit $264.63 to make it a $4 trillion. 264.63, and it hits $4 trillion. Now, while your next guest likes Apple, he's swapping it out as his top pick in tech for next year. Rosenblatt analyst Barton Crockett joining us now. Did I square that, Barton, correctly? You're not an Apple hater. You're not an Apple basher. As we noted, it's up 2% a week for 5 weeks. First time it's done that in 14 years. But you just think there's maybe more value in Meta.
Correct. Yes. So we had Apple as our top pick, our contribution to our firm's top pick list for the second half of last year. And it put some respectable points on the board, up close to 20% in that period. But at this point, we are starting this year with our top pick for the first half of 25. Our contribution is Meta. And we think that this is a year when AI has to deliver results. And we think we're getting that now at Meta with the firing up of their ad sales really powered by AI. We think that continues into the first half of next year. And you have a stock that is reasonably valued and is putting up good growth. And we think that's a formula for, another great, start to the year next year for 2025 for Meta. Apple we like, but we see a better opportunity at this juncture swapping into Meta.
I want to go back to Meta and the price target because I was having some eye problems about a month ago. So I'm like, shaking my head and looking at your price target, thinking, am I still having vision issues? I'm not. Your price target on Meta is $811.
Wow, that's a big one. Who agrees with that? Meta to 800 next year? Who thinks Meta creeps its way past the $2.2 trillion market cap?
$600 stock.
Correct. So, we think there's a good opportunity. At our price target, Meta would be trading, let's say, in a high 20s PE. We think putting up earnings per share growth next year, near that kind of multiple. So you're close to a peg of 1. These guys are growing ad revenue close to 20%. They can grow their spending on AI and still expand margins, we think, next year. So, they're a good share repurchaser. We think it's just an incredibly strong setup for this AI theme expressed in Meta right now.
How much was riding on the NFL Christmas show from Netflix? I know you rate it hold 680. It's also had a really good year. What do you think about the prospect of live sports and what that might mean for their ad business?
Look, I think Netflix is pivoting meaningfully into sports, and I think that they're doing really surprisingly well with their ability to drum up interest in things like the Tyson Paul fight. we'll see what the final numbers here for the NFL. I think that, I've read that they've talked about 1/3 of concurrent users streaming the game, the Steelers-Chiefs game. We're not sure what that translates into relative to the 30 million nearly kind of audience that we had last year on the Christmas games on TV. But if they're able to deliver better audience for sports on Netflix than the TV guys can, then they've invented a better mousetrap. And I think that.
And that's a fact, bro. Because right now, the only thing keeping legacy cable afloat, outside of people being lazy and not wanting to cancel their subscription, is sports. If Netflix and Amazon Prime and maybe Disney Plus gets into it with ESPN Plus, if they come in and they steal these sports contracts, I mean, CNN and MSNBC cannot be the reason why people keep watching legacy TV. So this is a big deal for Netflix. This could be a major growth curve for them as subscriber growth slows down. And it could be the nail in the coffin for legacy cable.
We're within hours maybe of getting a little bit more clarity on the NFL contribution to that with Netflix.
Well, we'll see it. Either way, you are very, very bullish on Meta. I know they're advertising heavily for those, goggles. We'll see if that pays off in sales. Barton Crockett, appreciate it. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Dude, if Netflix actually takes away those results from the big TVs, that'll be kind of wild. Let's finish the segment up with one more thing about Apple, and then we'll move on from there. We've got this last take right here about Apple.
All right.
Looking for the scoop on the hottest tech gifts this holiday season? Speaking of, our Steve Kovac says, look no further than the App Store. He joins us with the breakdown. What can you glean from looking at the App Store, Steve?
Yeah, Sarah, I like doing this every year because it really tells us which tech companies scored the biggest on Christmas. So you check the Apple App Store rankings for the top 3 apps, and you kind of see what velocity there are behind certain apps.
I think Meta Horizon is going to be number 1 on the App Store. I think it was number 1 yesterday.
It usually changes up the rankings on Christmas Day as people get their new gadgets and gizmos. And it tells us 2 main things. First of all, a good indication of what people are downloading when they activate a new phone they get for Christmas. And second of all, gadgets and accessories they got that need a companion app. Now, it's not a perfect system, but it does show, at least give a really strong idea, what was the most popular over Christmas. And the big winner this year, again, it was Meta. Just as Brian was saying, it was the Meta Horizon app for those Quest virtual reality headsets. They've been the winners for the past few years that I've been tracking this. Meta also had the Meta View app for those Ray-Ban smart glasses in the top 40. Let me give you some other notable trends here. Lemon 8, that's a social video app from TikTok. It was as high as number 2 yesterday. That's, of course, ahead of the January 19th deadline ban for TikTok. Unclear if that Lemonade app is going to be part of that, but it is made by TikTok, which, of course, is owned by the Chinese company ByteDance.
So Meta wins. Meta wins. Meta Horizon for Quest, the number 1 app on the App Store. I guess every Christmas, people buy a ton of Meta VR headsets, $82.43 on Palantir. That ends up being a massive catalyst for them. Looks like that's bullish for them. Meta to 800, dude. I mean, look, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt Zucks. The only reason I would have some hesitancy is because 800 means that the market's got to move up with Meta. Meta's not going to be independently 800. You got to have the S&P probably closer to 63, 6,400 for that to happen. That would be adding, at least another 1.2 trillion in market cap. So that would be a lot for Meta. But Meta is growing the most outside of NVIDIA in the Mag 7. They're growing faster than Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and Tesla currently right now. So it wouldn't be that crazy. I mean, you got other people arguing for 700 on their price target, so going up to 800 if they really get a run. But again, if Meta gets to 800, I feel like the other names have to move with it. And that's going to be another question for 2025. Can a Mag 7 name move up independent of the other Mag 7 names? Because we saw that this year for like the first 7 months of the year, Tesla and Apple were in the gutter, and Microsoft's kind of been flat all year. It's been okay, but it's been more flat. But Meta was running with it. NVIDIA was running with it. Amazon was also stuck until end of September. Then Amazon broke out. A lot of these names kind of moved in unison towards the end of the year, but for the beginning of the year, there definitely were individual Mag 7 names that were fighting against the trend. Are you buying Google in 2025? Probably. We'll be buying Google in 2025. Thesis is more so around YouTube than anything, as I've been diving deeper into Google. Also, the broader thesis about Google outside of just YouTube is that they are the cheapest Max 7. It's just that simple. And if we still believe tech will compound, Google should naturally go up into that 225, 230 range, which would be more so fair value if tech compounds together. I think I kind of agree with Steve. I still think NVIDIA might be the best performer next year in the Max 7. Because this is going to be year 3 of NVIDIA's, multi-year run. And really, if NVIDIA can say, yeah, we're not slowing down, we're going for the three-peat, like we are winning the championship again this year, I think the market's going to have no clue but to say, all right, CapEx spend is not going down. NVIDIA has the best chips. They're not stopping. Got to get exposure to NVIDIA. So I think NVIDIA still ends up being one of the best performers towards the end of the year. You would have to see a massive, Robin is trying to go green right here. You would have to see a massive downturn in terms of CapEx spend. And I just, at least for the first 6 months, I don't think we see that happen yet. If we start to see that happen, that could be where NVIDIA faces a little bit of pain. Doug says Tesla's going to have unsupervised FSD in Texas this year. Hard to imagine what the stock price could do there. Yeah, I think that's bullish, but it's only Texas is the only argument I would push back against that. It's only Texas. Now, granted, Texas is a big market. And if it works well in Texas, then I think the stock probably goes up because the precedent it sets is that it can work anywhere if it works in Texas. And by then, hopefully Trump has got rid of the regulations that were holding back unsupervised FSD in other parts of the country. But look, if 2025 is Texas and California proving the argument for unsupervised FSD, and then 2026 is the expansion of that, you're going to get a lot of that growth pulled forward. So that is a fair point. Even though it's only Texas, if it works, Street might buy it up. Street might buy it up. Martin says if it works, Wall Street will start to model it. Yeah, I agree. FSD is getting priced into Tesla at the moment. I know bulls hate to hear it, but that's true. Well, I agree with that as well. I think FSD is definitely priced in. I think a lot is priced in for Tesla. Like this run is based on a lot of stuff getting priced in, but that doesn't mean, we can't see further momentum. But at this point, we're going to need to see results. Same thing for Palantir. A lot is priced in. At this point, we're going to really need to see earnings results for the Street to keep giving them this love. But definitely gave both names a ton of love towards the end of 2024. And they're kind of just saying, all right, we'll buy it before you show us the results, but we're just hoping that you show it to us because we want to be part of the story. And that's why both names still getting a decent amount of love. Rango says the 3X model is scary good for unsupervised FSD. Haven't had an intervention for a while. Yeah, I'm still on 12.56, so I've got to upgrade my Tesla to 13. And Tesla's letting you pay for FSD with your Tesla credits, so I'm probably going to buy another month of it on the FSD 13 version that rolled out a week ago. And then I'm going to test it again and see how it feels. But even 12.5.6, dude, outside of lane switching, which was a little not the best, everything else was just like, it was like magic, dude. I could not believe the car was driving itself. And neither could my dad. It's a crazy story. Thoughts on Palantir's movement after the Q4 EPS miss? So I talked about that in the beginning of the show. I think either the Street gets upset and it tanks it back down to like 50, 60, which is a viable dip, or the Street overlooks it. Either way, I think if we get a dip, bulls won't be mad. I don't think we dip kind of below 50 just based on EPS. But even getting to 50 on a EPS miss that all the analysts should know about at this point, I think it might be priced in and it might take away from the miss itself, even if algos take over. So it wouldn't be something that compels me to sell my Palantir at $80. It's a concern. It's definitely something that has to be monitored, but it's not something that I'm like, all right, I got to get out of the stock before that happens. 13.2.2 is a smaller model. Okay, so that'll be the one that I'll be getting on my Tesla because the 3X model is not out to the public yet. Didn't FSD get a free 30-day trial the other day? Yeah, that also happened, but when I turned on my Tesla, it didn't offer it to me yet. So I guess I got to look for it. Because my friend said as soon as you like open your Tesla, it'll offer you the upgrade. But then again, I have to do a software update, so maybe that's why I didn't get the upgrade. Luna right here up 13%. But yeah, I do think they're giving another 30 days for free, which is great. Because then I'll get to try it at the latest release for another month. It's going to be fun, dude. It looks like FSD is becoming very real. Amit, when you start your India ETF, are you doing options? I only see a few months out. I'm not doing options. So INQQ is the ETF I'm looking at heavily. I'm still doing DD on some of the companies that are in there. But again, this would be a 10-year hold. You got to believe in India, and that's why you buy this. I do think this is the best India ETF that Americans or people around the world can buy that I've found. And I've looked at a lot of them. And a lot of them are just filled with all these large caps, and it's so annoying because like I don't want to bet on the large names. I want to bet on the smaller ones. This is a country where small caps make sense to me versus the United States. When you're competing with Google and Amazon, it's harder for me to be excited versus in India. Small caps just have so much potential since everyone's getting online. So INQQ, no options, would just buy stock. We'd probably put like $1,000 a month into this and just let it chill. And any dips on India would be opportunities to get more exposure. Have you decided on your dividend portfolio? So I've decided on a couple names, but to be honest, I'm kind of thinking of just buying. It's funny because you go through all this research and you're like, well, maybe I should just buy the dividend ETF. Maybe I just buy Schwab's dividend ETF. I don't know. Like I like Altria Group. I like Verizon. I like Kinder Morgan, but all these names are already in the Schwab dividend ETF. So I'm kind of like, what's the point of buying these individual names if all I want is the dividend? And I don't really care about following those companies that in depth. I might just end up buying the Divi ETF. This has a 3.6% yield, not horrible. Hopefully it's a little bit of an outperformer if we get a transition from growth to value next year. But yeah, this is probably going to be the way I start off with Divis because I'm not that obsessed with having individual dividend names. Especially because the problem with the dividend names too is they've ran up a lot as well. That's the annoying part. Like Altria Group's up a lot this year. Verizon is up from the lows at like $28. Now it's at 40. So it's not like the capital appreciation is going to be that massive on the dividend names. I'm really buying it for the dividend, which means if that's the case, I'd rather just buy a bucket of them versus pick the individual names. Now, if there's a dividend name that's actually undervalued, which the only one I'm finding that is actually undervalued is Pfizer. But I don't know if Pfizer's the best place to be in with RFK coming into the White House. Pfizer's trading at basically decade-year lows, 6.4% dividend. Probably fair value if they get their catalyst together is closer to the 35 range versus 26. So there is some upside here. But I don't know if I want to have Pfizer be a staple of the portfolio. Nike, yeah, that's a good one. I can't argue with Nike. If I buy Nike, though, I'm buying it because of Ackman, because I don't really believe in Nike. I mean, like, I literally would be blindly following Ackman. And I don't know if I have enough conviction just to trust Ackman on this one. You know what's got to suck for Ackman? And again, very successful guy. I mean, manages $20 billion, right? No one can talk shit about him. But it's got to suck for him to see Netflix doing what it's doing right here. He sold right there, 180 to 160. Bought it at, I think, 500, 600, around that range. Came up to 700. Issued at 340 that he was going to hold on. He was down 50%. Then it drops to 160. Then he liquidates the whole position, takes a $400 million loss, and then puts it into Google, which has done well, but Netflix has done an 8x since then. 800%. If you just doubled down on that dip like that, look at that chart, bro. And that chart is beautiful. So I don't know. Netflix has been one of those names that's definitely got to have him sleeping up at night a little bit, or waking up at night, because that's a tough one, dude. When you're playing with real money, how much of a legend would he have been if he had just bought if he had just that's when you really get legendary status, right? When everyone hates it and you're just like, screw all of you are wrong. I am taking as much money as I can. I'm dumping it into this trade and I'm going to be right. I mean, that would have been some bullshit. That would have been a play that would have cemented Bill Ackman as top 5 all time, in my opinion. I don't know if he's top 5 all time yet in terms of hedge fund managers. He's up there. He's top 10. I don't know if he's top 5. But that play would have kept him as top 5 to me. Because to sit through that Netflix downturn, it would have been tough. Like Druckenmiller's top 5 to me. Druckenmiller with what he did with Greece and currencies. I think that cements him as like one of the top 5 in terms of the biggest trades he's made. But really, what has been Bill Ackman's staple trade? It's been Chipotle, and it wasn't really a trade. It was just like you get in. I mean, yeah, he had the credit swaps in COVID and turned What was it? He turned like 200 million into 2 billion or something like that. Yeah, it turned like 100 million into 2 billion, made a $2 billion profit, crazy number. But that wasn't picking a name and sticking with it. Chipotle, he stuck with it through the Ebola stuff, which was fine. But Netflix would have been the name of sticking through hell and like making your way up to heaven. If they could get there. That's what Sailor's doing right now with other people's money. That is fair. He was doing that. Netflix getting to live sports is bullish. I think one day we will see UFC fights on there. Yeah, I think so too. Again, Netflix is probably going to go up from here. I can't buy Netflix. I can't buy it at 400 billion. I don't think this is the right entry price for it, but it could keep going higher, especially if they take away sports contracts from these other guys. Grab's up about 1%. SoFi 1640. Tesla struggling. Tesla down 1%, and then you got Palantir at 82.67. Palantir still green. Palantir still green. Yeah, I saw the documentary on him and Herbalife. I think he was right. Herbalife is absolutely an MLM, but the problem is Icon hated him so much that he had more power to wield over Ackman, and he was able to stop the short from turning into something more aggressive. But if you really watch the documentary, dude, and if you did any research on Herbalife, it is 1000% an MLM. Like Ackman was so correct on this, but unfortunately, Icon just had more power. He was able to get the job done. Okay, what else do we have going on? What are some headlines? 20 million to 2 billion. Okay, so that was a great trade for Ackman. I thought it was 200 million. 20 million to 2 billion is not bad. Grab is not in India. Grab is in Southeast Asia. It's not in China either. Here's some stats by MasterCard on retail spending. So we saw Visa stats last week. MasterCard says holiday retail sales besides auto was up 4% year over year. Very similar to what Visa said. They said 4.2%. Above the street forecast of 3.2%. E-commerce was up 7%. Top sectors were jewelry, electronics, and apparel. Dining out surged up 6.3%. Tampa was up 10%. Phoenix was up 10% for U.S. cities that were leading in e-commerce. Oh, let's ask this question, because I didn't ask this. What did you guys get for Christmas? What did you guys get for Christmas? You know what my mom got me? It wasn't really for Christmas, but she got me this. She got me boots. She got me boots. You guys will love it. Chad will love it because Chad has been making fun of my boots for like 5 months now. Granted, I needed some new boots, dude. Those boots were very old. But it wasn't really a Christmas thing. She got it like a couple days ago and she gave it to me, but technically I guess it was a Christmas gift. But I've stopped getting Christmas gifts for like 10 years now. We don't do Christmas gifts anymore. Now, granted, my mom's birthday is on the 22nd, so I gave her a birthday gift, which is kind of similar with a Christmas gift. But yeah, we don't really do gifts under the tree anymore. But I'm curious. I'm sure some of you guys have kids, right? Like for the ones that have kids, like Christmas still has to be pretty special for them, I would imagine. Amit got a Grindr subscription, of course. Amit got a Grindr subscription. I got Amit for Christmas. Yeah, even Doug, I just saw your message last night. He said we should be streaming last night. We weren't able to stream last night. I was actually spending time with my family. If I wasn't spending time with family, I probably would have streamed last night on Christmas. We would have had a little Christmas stream. But I actually spent time with the family, watched the movie, even though I incorrectly said the movie's name this morning. It was a good movie. It was a good time spending with family. New pots and pans. Okay, that's not bad. 2 Rolexes just for my wife and I. All right. Juan Chang had a very good year for buying Rolexes for Christmas. That's not bad. Carry On was the movie from Netflix. Carry On was the movie. First Netflix movie I watched in a long time. But Carry On was the movie. Ridge Wallet. I've heard of those. Those have been going around a lot more. I actually watched Disney Plus as well. I turned on the Santa Claus with Tim Allen. I actually watched Disney Plus for the first time in a year. Haven't turned it on many times, but this is the part of the year where Disney Plus got some love. Google 198, Rocket Lab 2788, still up 4%. SoFi 1643, trying to break above 1650. Archer's up 1%, and then Palantir still holding on 8244, green on the day. 5 kids. My kids got each of one thing: 3 iPads, 1 computer, 1 Meta Quest 3. That's a fun Christmas for the kids. You know how people hated getting socks and underwear for Christmas? Now I feel like if you're an adult, like you actually need socks and underwear and like just basic necessities, dude. Like I wouldn't mind some socks for Christmas. I actually would love socks for Christmas. But I remember when you were little, like if you got socks for Christmas, you'd be so sad. Dude, I loved Christmas when I was little, dude. I really enjoyed getting gifts and all that stuff and wrapping presents. I haven't done that in so long. Rumble's up because now people are trading it a little bit more like a meme. But again, what inspired the meme was the $750 million investment by Tether. Rumble right here up 30%. Look, do I think this is justified? Not at all. But at this point, people are willing to speculate on it, and that's why it's up right here. Rumble's earnings are abysmal. If you actually go through their numbers, it's just like they're not competing with any of the major media platforms. But they do have more money, and they got about 800 million of cash added to the balance sheet. So that's definitely something that could be pushing the stock higher as well. Robinhood is green. Oh, speaking of Robinhood, hold on. I got to show you guys this. We still have to do this. Robinhood just 3 cents from going green. Let me get this real quick. Okay, here we go. Here we go. We still have to drink this, guys. Once we sell the HUD options, we still have to drink this live. This is magic juice that Robinhood gave me at the gold event. They called it the gold fashion. So we're going to get some Coca-Cola, okay? And we're going to drink this live. We're going to drink this live. And I don't think I'll be able to get through the whole thing. I don't even know what it is. I think it's some type of whiskey. It looks cool, though. This bottle, too, looks so cool. But once we sell, we'll probably do a stream, probably on the market close, at the end of the market close that day. We'll be on for like an extra 30 minutes and drink it. You don't mix that with Coke? Well, what am I supposed to drink it with? I'm not drinking that by itself. Out of your damn mind if I drink it by myself. I don't think I have the stomach to just drink that straight up, bro. I need some chaser. Drink it straight, bro. You guys think I can drink this straight? You think I can actually drink this straight down? I need something. On the rocks. All right, I'll have the Coke next to me. I'll try to drink it. It's an old fashioned. I'll try to drink it basically, like basic with the rocks, and no chaser. But I'm having the chaser next to me, dude, because your boy doesn't drink like that. Your boy does not know how to drink like that. Maybe that's another goal in 2025. I need to learn how to actually drink. Like I need to properly learn how to have a palate and a taste for liquor and wine, and not just white wine, not just, but like, you know, whiskey, all that stuff. Because I'm so bad. I'm so freaking bad. It's time for me to learn to become a man drinker. The problem, and I should like it, like Black Label in India, bro. Black Label, the whiskey in India, like the Indians love their whiskey, and I've never been able to get on that train. Like Indians love Black Label and whiskey. They just drink it. I mean, my uncle, I remember we were in India. I made him a drink and he was just like, pour it straight, a little bit of water, ice, and he drank like 5 of them. Like they love that stuff. I'm scared of that stuff. I can't handle that stuff. My uncle right here in the chat. I will finish on your behalf in one go. Yeah, my uncle is a drinker, bro. My uncle can drink. He tried teaching me how to drink in India. It didn't work. I wasn't able to do it. I ended up drinking freaking wine coolers, bro. Like, like every time I have to get drunk, I'm like, do we have any Smirnoff Ice? Do we have any Mike's Hard? Mike's Hard is amazing, bro. Okay, that didn't sound right, but Mike's Hard lemonade is absolutely incredible. People sleep on that. People sleep on it, dude. It'll get you buzzed. Philip Perry says, I added nearly 200 bottles of high-end wines to the cellar this year. See, I need a wine cellar. I need a wine cellar too. I need one of those in the new apartment. Mike's is delicious when you're at the beach or something. Mike's Hard lemonade and freaking Smirnoff Ice was my college. That's what I drank in college, dude. I would get messed up over. My friends would make fun of me though. Like you guys are making fun of me. They're like, "How are you drunk off this?" I'm like, "Dude, drank 2 Smirnoff Ices. What are you talking about? I'm buzzed. I'm lit off that, man." But yeah, we're gonna drink these on the market close, probably January 2nd. We'll stay on for like an extra hour. We'll drink it. And I told myself back when I got it in March, I was like, I'm not drinking this until I can get through the full year and Robinhood actually does what I want it to do. Robinhood going green now, and so now's the time. Now is the time. A 27-year-old man doesn't drink the shit he did in college. I've got to learn, bro. I want to learn. Okay, so I have a couple hobbies I want to work on next year. I want to get better at chess I want to learn how to cook, and I want to learn how to not be a barista, but I do want to learn how to make certain drinks. Because I think if I move out and I have a little bit of a bar in wherever I move out, I want to have a section where I can actually make drinks when people come over and when we have parties and stuff. And then 3, I want to learn poker. I want to learn poker in 2025. That's what I want to learn. Phil says, I'll drink with you. All right, so Monday, January 2nd, or not Monday, Thursday, January 2nd, after we sell the hood options, bring a drink, 4 p.m. We'll be drinking. Honestly, this is a drink to anyone who's selling anything in January. If you are selling on January 2nd and you are locking in some gains, make sure you're here on the market close. We're going to be drinking together, celebrating having to pay taxes in 2026 on those gains. So if anyone's taking some profits, January 2nd, make sure you're here on the market close. It'll be fun. But poker, I want to learn about poker. Amidst turning into a full degen, I just want to know the game theory behind poker, because I know there's got to be investing insights that come from learning about poker and like being able to literally keep a poker face and being able to navigate a position when it's down. Like I think there's stuff I can become a better investor by learning about poker. So that's one of the goals in 2025 I want to get into as well. Quite the role model, man. Remember, kids watch this show. Well, the parents who have kids, if you're taking some profits on January 2nd, those kids will definitely appreciate those profits. But again, I'm not going to be selling the whole hood position because we have 2026 options. So the hood 2024, 2025 position that expires in January, that's what I'll be selling. I'm going to be trying to get full price on the spread. If I have to give up $1, that's okay. I'll lose like $1,000. But I don't want to give up more than $1 on the spread. So we got to make sure that we can get it to fill at the right point. I think we'll be able to get the max value. And the 2025 options should bring in about, multi-6-figure profit. And then we just hold on to it. And then the 2026 options, those are another multi-6-figure, but those have a $20 strike. So we can leave those until 2026. We really don't have to worry about that. To be honest, if I sell the 2026 options in January 2026, again, Robinhood just has to be above 20 by then. Like I won't have to pay taxes for those till 2027. So part of the thing I'm thinking about is like, wait a second, what if I leave the 2026 options until 2027? But if the 2026 options are so in the money, like if Robinhood goes to 50 and they're giving me almost 80 to 90% of the value of the spread, I think I'll sell it in 2025 and just take the money and start doing something else with the money. But the 2025 options, we got about 1,000 contracts on those. Those will be sold hopefully January 2nd. And then we're done. We are done taking one of the biggest risks of my life, and we turned it into hopefully some decent gains to hold on to. And that's why we will be drinking the Gold Fashioned. I'm going to need a chaser, bro. I'm going to try to do it straight. But if you guys know me, and straight doesn't really work out. I'm kidding. That was too good. I had to take that one. That was too good. I had to take that one. I had to take that one. How long did it take to learn options? It took a good 2 years. And I wouldn't say I fully understand options yet. There's still so much stuff I don't understand about the actual methodology around how options are priced, calculated, etc. But 2023 is when I really started going down the path. Around May 2023, I started really trying to understand it. And then by December, made the bet on hood and just hoped it would work out. And here we are. Now we are here. It's kind of wild though. It is a testament to conviction, and I know a lot of you guys are feeling it, if not in hood options and in a variety of other names. But like, it's one of those things sometimes where conviction really works, but you've got to be so against the grain, and you've got to be willing to hold through so much shit and just hope that you're right. And then you got to get a little lucky. I mean, Vlad executed at a level that I did not expect, so there's a little bit of luck involved. But I think for all of us, if you held on to Tesla and those, I know someone who has 15,000 contracts. It's not Derek. Before you guys say it's Derek, it's not Derek. It's someone else who messaged me on Twitter on Tesla, and their strike was like 250 for March, and they bought it when Tesla was at 130. So like, I mean, they're printing money, and to hold on to that, even with all the ups and downs, is just insane, bro. But I think that was the year of 2023 was the year of buying the dip. 2024 was the year of holding and just waiting until this bull market played out. And that's what we're seeing. Nobody noticed he mispronounced palais. Is it palette? I thought it was palais. I said I need a palais of drink choices. Is it palette? Of course I mispronounced it. Of course not. Of course I mispronounced it. Amit looks like a guy who gets drunk just by remembering the last time he drank. You're not wrong. You're not wrong about this. Joseph says, I supplement my income by playing poker professionally. It's a never-ending learning and unsolvable. Yeah, TJ also played poker professionally for a while as well. I don't think I would play with real money. I would try to like play online and like simulated games and stuff just to get a feel for it. I think I would have to like go to Vegas in person with real money if I get actually confident about it. But dude, I suck at poker. Like I'm so bad. Like I barely understand the rules. I kind of understand the concept of it. Blackjack, I understand better, but have no strategies on understanding blackjack. So I've got to really dive in and like become a student of the game to understand it. But options, although they're gambling, when you buy options, Robinhood going green, it's a little bit better than poker because if something is asymmetrically undervalued, there's a shot that you can use leverage to amplify the returns. 96.4 on Bitcoin, so we're trying to make its way back to 97, breaking out of that 95 rut that it was in. Hopefully we get to that $97,000 level. You ever go to Atlantic City? Yeah, I've been to Atlantic City a couple times. Not really played poker though in Atlantic City. Kind of played on the machines and stuff. So next time I go, it would be hopefully better. Like if I go, I want to go with like 10 grand and like actually like play, you know? And if I lose the 10 grand, I got to be really happy losing the 10 grand. I mean, like that's my lesson, or maybe make some money off it. But I want to go with like a legit amount of money. 10 grand I know is not crazy, but it's also not like $500. And I want to legit play. But I got to learn the rules. Got to learn the basic rules. Doug says, yup, this was the question of 2024. Did you have the guts to hold? I agree. Did you have the guts to hold on in 2024? Drinking and poker, damn, we're on a slippery slope. Dude, I'm like the most like chill guy when it comes to all the degenerate stuff outside of options, but they're not options, they're derivatives. So it's not as degenerate, you know what I mean? But when it comes to like drinking and poker and stuff, I'm not that type of guy, but I just want to learn more about it. And even after I drink this whiskey, dude, I don't think I'm going to become a drinker. I need to really develop a taste for it. It tastes like medicine, bro. It doesn't taste good. Like I like things that's why I like Shirley Temples. They taste good. I don't care how many people laugh at me at the freaking dinner table when I order a Shirley Temple. It tastes good. And I like to drink a nice taste. I like to have something nice to drink when I'm eating. I don't want to drink medicine while I'm eating a nice meal. But that means that I'm not going to have the best palate or palate to taste this stuff. Drinking alone is boring. I agree. Drinking alone is definitely boring. I've watched Rounders and I've watched The Gambler. I've watched Rounders is great. Gamblers also. The Gamblers. Who's the guy in it? What's his name? The guy from The Departed. Crap. What was his name? Matthew something? No, Mark something. Oh, I'm forgetting his name, dude. What's the guy's name? Mark. As soon as you guys say the name, I'm gonna feel bad. I should have known his name. But he is incredible. Wahlberg, yes, Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg. That dude, incredible. Not Matt Damon, Mark Wahlberg. Wait, was it Matt Damon? No, it was Wahlberg. Hold on. Who was it? It was Mark Wahlberg, yeah. I do get the mix up, Mark Wahlberg and Matt Damon. This one was a great movie, The Gambler. I watched this a couple years ago. This was a great movie. Great poker movie. So I definitely would recommend that one. But that guy was addicted to gambling. See, I've never been addicted to alcohol, never been addicted to gambling. I guess I'm addicted to the stock market, but I've never had an alcohol problem ever in my life. And it's ironic because my dad sold alcohol for the majority of his life. And I've been around alcohol forever, but I've never drank, never like seriously got into drinking. And then gambling, I never fell into the gambling lifestyle. I guess options to an extent are gambling in the markets, but I think that's different. So 2 areas of life never super exposed to in regards to like an addictive personality. Yeah, Matt Damon is in Rounder. I was talking about The Gambler. That's Mark Wahlberg. The cherries are the best part of the Shirley Temple, bro. Cherries are the best part. I remember I ordered it at AIPCon at the bar, and the bartender was like, "You're not driving, are you?" He was messing with me. I was like, "Dude, just give me the Shirley Temple, bro. Don't gotta make fun of me, man. Don't gotta freaking Don't you want a tip? Like, why are you making fun of me, dude? Like, but even when the bartender makes fun, that's when you got to give them a better tip. When the bartender makes fun of you, that's when they really need a tip. I was like, all right, man, it is what it is. I like my Shirley Temples. It is what it is. All right, what other headlines do we have? Do we have anything else going on? Meetup stats will be disclosed pretty soon. Next week, we'll have stats on the meetups. For now, January 2nd, we are officially calling it Profit-Taking Day, and we'll be drinking to profits on January. Put in the chat, who's selling on January 2nd? Who's actually selling at something? I better not be drinking alone. Who's selling something on January 2nd? Put in the chat. Put in the chat if you're taking some profits. I know there's got to be a decent amount of you that are taking some profits. Are you planning on doing an options class in the new year? Okay, so a lot of people have been asking for this. We have a lot of basic videos, TJ and I, on this, but I think we'll do a live stream where it's just like me lecturing for an hour about options, the very basics. So probably in January, for those that are brand new to options, we're going to do a super basic live stream on options, just in general, option selling, option buying, etc. Try to keep it 45 minutes, and we'll do that as a live stream this year. And this is for all the beginners that want to get some very, very basic insight into options. So we'll do that in January. We could definitely do that. Okay, decent amount of you selling, decent amount of you taking some profits. I'm selling my losers on the last day this year. I mean, look, if anyone has options, definitely that are expiring soon, definitely I know you guys will be selling. But for those that have equity, yeah, if you're not selling, I mean, is it really, you got to sell NVIDIA here? Probably not. You don't have to. Easy Day says I have a $13.47 average on Palantir. Is it worth the profits? Okay, if I had that average, I wouldn't be selling. Now you have to make your own decision. If that's life-changing money for you and you need to take some of that money, then that's up to you. But I think this is going to be one of those companies that's around for the next 10, 20 years, and it's going to surpass everyone's expectations. It already has. And even if it dips, I think that's a great time to allocate on the dip if the dip is aggressive. If it gets to 60 or 70, it's whatever. If it gets to 50 or 40, I think that's fine. So look, if you're below a $20 average on Palantir, it's one of those things where if you really believe in the long term of it, either it's the biggest bubble, we crash to 30, and then it takes 10 years to get back to 80. Or we have a little bit of a pullback to the 50s and 60s and we get back to normal, or we just keep chugging on from here. The first scenario, I just think is a bit more unlikely. That's it. That's my perspective. I could be wrong. And if that happens, then yeah, you're going to feel like shit for not selling. If that doesn't happen, then I don't know if we're hitting $13 again on Palantir. Again, dude, similar to what Dan and I've said as well, that I think a lot of people forgot about on that interview I did with him. The culture of Palantir, and it speaks to me because I've been there and I've talked to the employees. That culture is just so freaking special. It's not going away. Everyone wants to get into the company. It's the biggest degree on Wall Street. If you get the Palantir degree, it's more valuable than Harvard or Stanford. Like, that culture is not going anywhere. And if you believe AI is built on technology, you need the best technologists in the world. That's what Palantir has. And as long as they execute against growth, I think the story gets really exciting over the next 2 decades. Why not split the taxes between this year and next year? Well, I have a lot of taxes already that I'm paying this year. Like, it's the most taxes I've paid in my entire life based on the P&L that I saw. So, and even with the tax write-offs, it's going to be aggressive. So that's why, like, I would have sold by now because I don't like playing these games, waiting until the last minute. But like, really for taxes, it would have been insanity taking profits here. This is why I'm jealous of all the people in Singapore and Belgium and places where you don't have to worry about this. You got to worry about it in the States. So, and again, look, the other reason is like, do I think HUD's going to 25 in 2 days? Probably not. I hope not. I hope it doesn't go to 25 by January 2nd. So I think we end deep in the money, and then January 2nd we take profits. I think a lot of you in the same position, right? You're just holding on to these names till the end of the year and assuming that they stay in the money. How are taxes in New Jersey? They're aggressive. I mean, look, they're not as bad as New York, but they're still aggressive. So the state tax that I'll have to pay on this will be aggressive. Federal tax. Like, the first 5 months of the year are going to be me planning on how to pay the taxes for 2024. Like, and that's just, again, it's nothing to complain about. It's a good problem to have, but it's one of those things you got to be vigilant of, because if you don't pay your taxes, you're not in the best situation, right? So you gotta be able to have that money saved up. You can't be that leveraged either, right? If you have to have money on the sidelines for taxes. Because you can't really pull money out of your brokerage if you're using a heavy amount of margin. That's something to remember, right? So if you're like, all right, I'll take out this 50 grand in April, but then you're on a crap ton of margin, or the market tanks and then you got assigned on all your puts, like the market, Robinhood, Schwab, they're not going to let you take out that money. They're going to be like, hey, buddy, this money's got to stay in here, or you better sell some other stuff because we need to protect the margin that we gave you. So it's definitely one of those things you got to plan for towards the end of the year. You don't have to prepay taxes. I mean, sometimes you do, yes. The way my taxes work, I don't usually necessarily do that. This year might be different. I'm meeting with my accountant next week, and he's going to have probably a lot of things to talk about in regards to this year's taxes. But I guess paying taxes is the quintessential part of starting to live the American dream. I mean, that's how you know you're really living the American dream, right? When you are paying Uncle Sam, that's how you know you're on your way to getting there. Selling PayPal on the 31st, booking profits before people sell next week. Everything is tax-free, decent profits. Yeah, PayPal, did it get affected by Honey at all? PayPal? Yeah, look, PayPal's up, dude. A Honey thing was an absolute nothing burger. Nothing affected PayPal from that headline. Maybe the fallout of that headline is still going to happen, but as of now, market doesn't care. PayPal 88.38. Look, I like PayPal. I think PayPal is not going to be a sleeper next year. I think it does well, but there's other places that could take it. Like I would rather buy SoFi than PayPal for sure. So SoFi at 16 versus PayPal at 88. I would definitely pick SoFi over PayPal. So if you're into the fintech space or Robinhood, I mean, I'd buy Robinhood at 40 over PayPal at 88. What are you most excited about when Trump gets in office? I am excited to see if a Republican-led Congress and executive branch can actually get multiple bills passed in the first 100 days. So the first 100 days, for those that don't know about American politics, are the most important days of a candidacy because you have the least amount of resistance, you have the most amount of political capital, the media hasn't literally ripped you to shreds yet, and you have a chance before the midterms to actually prove to the American public that they shouldn't switch their minds on the midterms, which happens all the time in a democracy, because by definition, that's what happens in a democracy. People switch their minds. They don't want people getting too much power, etc. So the first 100 days, I think we're going to see immigration stuff. I think we're going to see tariff stuff. I think we're going to see those tax cuts try to get extended. Trump wants to get it down to 15% for companies that make their products in the USA. Maybe that gets in. I think we're going to have to see some geopolitical stuff. Can the Russia-Ukraine stuff get resolved? Also, speaking of Russia, last night, I was reading on the Cold War and the Cuban Missile Crisis. And I don't think all of us realize how crazy the Cuban Missile Crisis really was. And some of you guys that are older than me, you probably have a lot of deep respect for that time in history. But dude, we were 2 decisions away from a nuclear war, like a straight up nuclear war. I'm forgetting the name of one of the generals, but there were 3 generals in a nuclear submarine in Cuba, the Russia nuclear submarine. And 2 of the generals had voted to launch the nuclear missile, right? And to just start, because they didn't know what was going on above air and they thought America had already launched. So they said, all right, it's time for us to launch. The third guy, I'm forgetting his name, but the third guy said no. The third guy said no. It was a 2-1 decision to do it, but they needed to be unanimous as per the Russia laws. And that third guy, you could argue, saved the world. It's just pretty incredible. Also, Russia had a system called the dead hand. Some of you guys might have heard about this before. And basically the dead hand system was underground. Russia had built a series of sensors that could basically tell if a nuclear bomb had landed on the mainland. And if a nuclear bomb had landed on the mainland and the dead hand, quote unquote, system did not get a response from the nuclear command control of Russia that it's a false flag, to not let go of a nuclear, to not trigger the weapon, the dead hand would at one moment trigger 50,000 nuclear warheads all at once to the United States. Like it was 2 decisions. It was that one Russian general who said no, we're not going to launch in the submarine, and then it was the dead hand not getting triggered because America didn't launch a nuke. But if it did, forget the red button. It would have been like 15,000 red buttons being pressed at once, and all of them would have been launched to the United States. It would have been a total nuclear holocaust in the 1960s. And, we survived through it. A lot of us that are alive right now might not be alive if that had happened. So I was watching that last night and I was like, damn, dude, that is crazy. And so the reason I bring this up is because you're like, well, what is Trump going to do in the first 100 days? I hope somehow that the Russia-Ukraine stuff is resolved in the best way that it can be resolved. And Putin takes a breather and like stops being as crazy as it's been the past couple of years. And Trump is able to work out some deal. Because I don't think we're at Cuban Missile Crisis levels yet. The economy is much more developed. Everyone knows that if they press their button, the other person presses their button and the world goes kaboom. But then again, that's kind of how civilizations end. Grab right there up 1%. And hopefully that is not the way that that this world ends going into next year. So that's what I want to see. That's also what I want to see happen in 2025. I want to see Trump hopefully resolve some things geopolitically. I thought you were advocating for bombing Cuba. No, I'm not advocating for sending any nukes, but we've got so many nukes, dude. The good thing about the nukes is that they deter, right? Like I've got a big nuke, you've got a big nuke. Let's just chill for a little bit, because if we both press this button, we're done, right? And so I think there is a level of deterrence there, but it's scary, bro. It's scary. What if one day someone says they don't care? And I launch it. But I think when you're actually about to press the button, it's very humbling as a human being, because this is like 8 billion people's lives are on the line. And you definitely think twice. So hopefully 2025 doesn't see anything close to the Cuban Missile Crisis. AI is going to press the button, dude. That is a risk. That is definitely a risk. If AI autonomously one day decides, if AI is in our defense system, this is why Palantir is so important, bro, because you need a system that makes sure that AI doesn't do anything crazy like launches a nuke autonomously based on whatever freaking information it takes in. That'd be wild, dude. Imagine the world ending because of an AI nuke going off. Maybe I do need to watch Terminator now. Maybe I'll get more appreciation for it. Maybe. All right, we got a headline right here on Microsoft. Microsoft and OpenAI have been negotiating changes to their $13 billion partnership since October, focusing on key areas. Microsoft's equity stake exclusively is OpenAI's cloud provider, IP usage rights, and the 20% revenue share. Talks reflect friction over cloud and governance shifts as OpenAI eyes for a for-profit transition under CEO Sam Altman. So it looks like Nadella and Altman are trying to negotiate a deal to get Microsoft to get more benefits on this OpenAI investment. They invested when OpenAI was a nonprofit. OpenAI is turning into a profitable company now. So that is definitely going to be something Microsoft has to navigate. MSFT 439. This is the least performing Max 7 this year, but it's been stable, even though it hasn't performed as well. Rumble right here up 33%, Robin at 39.53, Palantir 82.09. And they have to figure out if this OpenAI partnership is going to continue to pay well going into next year. Grab above 5. You got Grab right there, back above $5. It's been chilling below 5 for the majority of the week. SoFi 1642, Rocket Lab nice up 4.25% right here today. Isn't Palantir supposed to make ethical decision making? Yeah, I mean, Palantir, by the way, people don't know this, or people probably forgot about this. Palantir has a contract with the NNSA. What is the NNSA? It is the National Nuclear Security Administration. Now, I don't know exactly what they do around the nukes, but this 1000%, because I researched this years ago, is them having an integrated data operating system that works with the nuclear weapons. It's not just nuclear energy, it's with the nuclear weapons. Now, the question is, do they actually have control? Like, imagine if we were to launch a nuke, it would be on Gotham. I don't think that's the case. I don't think Palantir literally is sitting on top of the red button, but they definitely have been working with National Nuclear Security Administration for the past couple of years. And I would imagine this contract will get re-upped in the next 2 years when it is over. So a company like Palantir, if not Palantir, definitely will have some technology embedded into the nukes going off or not, or deciding to launch the nukes. But you would need a company that is able to have AI work in a way that is congruent with humans and not just let it autonomously go off. Admit you sell the SoFi spreads? Yes, still have the SoFi spreads, not selling those. I think we get to 20 on SoFi. I think we let those play out for the next year. So not selling those anytime soon. Unless SoFi really messes up earnings, but I don't think they're going to mess up earnings. I think SoFi will, and even if they do mess up earnings, I think SoFi to 20 is not that big of an ask. It's at 1640, hit 17 already. Narrative has changed, so I think we hold on to those till the end of the year. Do you ever think of Block Square? Yeah, Steve's into Square now. Steve's getting excited about that one. Still doing DD on that 91. He has a good thesis. His article on Seeking Alpha, I recommend people read it. It's a really good thesis. I don't love Jack Dorsey. I hate their stock-based comp. And I think if crypto tanks, Square is not going to necessarily benefit. So those are the risks to it. But the underlying business is doing phenomenal for Square. And so you got to give Dorsey credit there in terms of how they're executing against their actual mission. Let's get a betting market going for the comeback of the Cuban Missile Crisis, dude. When Kalshi is showing you the odds on a Cuban Missile Crisis scenario, that's how you know this world is completely gone to shit. That's how you know. That's how you would know. David says, Amit, if there's a big profit taking in January, isn't trimming some options positions in January a smart idea? Maybe at least you're... No, yeah, exactly. That's the entire options position is gone in January for 2025. January 2nd, the goal is we're selling all 1,000 of the contracts. I'm going to put in the order in the pre-markets. I'm going to get through the market open, and then if I get a notification during the market open, the orders hopefully will have been executed, and that's it. We're done. So the entire thing, because again, it expires on the 17th. So like at this point, we're at the very end of it. And if Robinhood was at like 27, 28, I might even wait till like January 10th to get to like the full value, because the closer you get to expiration, you've got to be above the strike price. But Robinhood's well above the strike price at this point. So, even if we gap down to like 35 or something, we should be in a good situation because the theta decay is enough. Oh, and then for 2026, no, 2026, I don't think there's any need to sell. Dude, the strike on those is 20 for Hood. Like we could go back to 20 in 2025, and I still think by 2026, the Hood options will be good. I will only sell the 2026 options if the market's giving me a good deal. But if they want to give me like 50% of the max value, I'm not selling. They got to give me 80 to 90%. Because I'm the one with the leverage here. I'm the one who bought them early, and Robinhood has dramatically went above the strike price. So the market really doesn't have leverage here of making me give up the options for a cheaper price, even though they definitely want me to. Because theta's on my side as well. So this one, I don't really feel any need to sell the 2026 ones, but 2025 ones definitely have to get them out. And again, I think Robinhood could get a dip next year. If the market dips, Robinhood's probably going back to 30 or probably into the high 20s if we get a real dip. But I think that would be one of the best dips ever. I mean, at that point, I would have the cash to just buy that dip, and I would be really happy buying more Hood at $26, $27 if we get there. I hope you don't end up drinking in sorrow instead of joy. You're drinking. That's facts, dude. I'm drinking regardless. Whatever it's going to be. Well, you're definitely drinking regardless. Are you playing long-term or short-term capital gains? So I'm paying short-term because I bought them in February. So, but I have to sell them in January because it expires in January. So short-term cap gains, but long-term on the 2026 ones. It's going to be annoying, but you got to pay the taxes. When I was in elementary school, we had nuclear bomb drills regularly at school. Yeah, we never did those when I was in elementary school. I guess for people growing up in the 80s and 90s, you had more of those drills, or even the 70s. We had fire drills, and I think we had school shooter drills a couple times, but we never had nuclear bomb drills, which is wild. Because, after the 60s, I would imagine schools got a lot more curious about what would happen in the 70s if that took place. Amit, what is your plan with the cash you're raising from the options? Are you taking anything for yourself or recycling all profits back into the market? So I did a decent amount of stuff that I wanted to do over the weekend, or over the Christmas break. So I cleared out some of my mom's debt. My mom had about $4,000 in debt, gave her that money. So that's cleared out. So she has no more revolving credit card debt on her side. So that's done. I cleared out my credit card debt. I had about $5,000 in credit card debt. So I cleared that out completely. So that's gone. So I have the only debt I have now is student loans for $6,000, which I'll pay like $500 a month off that, and I'll get that done in like a year. I just don't want to give all the $6,000 at once because like I'm not really paying interest on that, so I can slowly pay that off. But the credit card debt I'm gone with, and then the other debt is the $29,000 I have on my Tesla. I made my first Tesla payment the other day as well, but that's like $500 a month, and that'll happen over the next couple of years. So in terms of personal debt, I'm out of it. No more. So I don't need to take any money out of the options to pay off debt. All of that is done. Again, student loans, $500 a month. I'll be paying that off periodically. That won't be a big deal. It's only $6,000. So by the end of the year, that should be done. I paid off the majority of my student loan debt. Actually, my senior year, I had like $15,000. I just like pummeled $15,000 into it. Now, granted, that probably was the wrong decision because we had 4 years of zero interest on student loan debt. So I should have saved that $15,000, but that was before COVID. If I knew it was COVID, I would have used the $15,000 in the markets instead. But yeah, outside of that, the only plan is just to hold on to the money and wait for a good opportunity in the markets. That's it. That is it. Dave Ramsey. Dude, Dave Ramsey he's too ideological about debt. It makes zero sense if I'm paying basically 0% interest on $6,000 of credit card debt to take $6,000 that I could make 2 to 3% on per month in the market and dump it into student loans for the mental happiness of being debt free. That's just stupid. Like if you've got $350,000 in cash and you're buying a house for $400,000, putting down $350,000 is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Or better yet, if the house is $350,000 and you're paying for $350,000 in cash. Like, no, dude. If you do that, you have no understanding of what to do with your money. And you need a financial advisor or someone to slap some common sense into you. Money is a tool. You don't just give your money away to the big companies and let them use your money. You have to leverage your money effectively. So credit card debt, if you don't pay credit card debt, that's 30% interest, basically. It's like predatory the next month, right? So you never want to have a revolving balance. A credit card, I think you always get rid of. But if you're paying very cheap interest on student loans or a car payment or something like that, do I have $30,000 to pay off my Tesla right now? Yes. Does it make sense to pay off $30,000 off my Tesla versus pay $500 a month at 0% APR and then use that $30,000 in the markets? Like, it just makes no sense. Now, granted, a majority of people feel like this, but there are some people like the Dave Ramsey of the world that says that the mental clarity you get out of getting off debt makes you more productive. I think that's bullshit. I think you've got to have a very illiterate financial mind to think that, oh, I am debt free. I don't owe anything to anybody. Therefore, I'm going to be making more money and productive. But it's like, no, dude, like you're just stupid. Like in my opinion, you're just stupid. That's just like you pay the mental clarity of paying off your debt doesn't make your money work better for you. It actually makes your money work bad against you. Especially if that debt is 0% or very low interest. That's my perspective on it. If you are the people, yeah, exactly. As Colin says right here, you heard the people who call into a show, they can't be trusted. I agree. If you're someone who, for whatever reason, has like $500,000 in debt because you're spending money left and right, then yes, you've got to get rid of the debt because your mind is not ready enough to even think, hey, what can I do with the money if I'm not paying off the debt? But if you're like someone in the chat, and most of you guys keep up with the markets, like, hey, I can probably put some money into some equities or some opportunity that can yield way better. And if the bank isn't charging me interest, if my student loans aren't charging me interest, or the interest is so insignificant that it's like $50 a month or something that it's not going to break the bank, then it's like you got to allocate the capital in a better spot. Wayne says, I agree. My wife wants me to pay off the mortgage. It's under 50K. No way. I told her we're making more investing. Yeah, 100%. Dude, my dad has taught me this his entire life. He's had debt on his property. He's had a couple properties in India, and he has one main property in the United States that he went into debt to reconstruct and build, and now he has tenants pay. He has $10,000 left to pay it off. He's not in a rush to pay off that $10,000 because it's very low interest. He did this back in 2009. So even with he has $10,000, obviously he could pay off the loan, but like you don't need to pay off the loan tomorrow because that $10,000 could be used in a better way. So I definitely think leveraging credit effectively is the right way to do it. Wes says, and using credit cards aren't evil. Don't spend more than you can pay for. It's simple. Yes, credit cards are not evil, dude. Now Ramsey's speaking to a different audience. Ramsey's speaking to the people that think credit cards are like, okay, I got to tell you guys a story. You guys are going to be laughing about this, but I got to tell you a story. It connects back to this. So at the Army-Navy game, you know, at a football game, everything's overpriced, like ridiculously overpriced, like a hot dog is $20 or something. Well, the Army-Navy game, there was this concession stand that was like filled with technology and everything was overpriced. So I walked in, you have to walk through this like screener. There's no cashier. You just scan your card and they put a $20 hold on the card and then you grab whatever you want. And then like the AI senses what you're taking. Amazon tried this, but there were like Indians in India actually controlling what you were buying and all this stuff. All right, so this happened back at the Army Navy game, right? My dumbass doesn't realize that, like, if you pick up something, you have to pay for it. I thought it was an all-you-can-eat buffet for $20. We're talking about a football game where like a soda is $18, right? Like, so this is the type of expenses we're looking at. So I walk in, I grab a hot dog, I grab some chicken tenders and fries, I grab some candy, I grab a drink, and I'm just like, yo, this is great. I walk out and I'm like, damn, for $20, that was a great deal. And then Garcia walks up to me. He's like, bro, like, you paid $18 for a hot dog? I'm like, what are you talking about, bro? It's like, and he's like, dude, like, look at the menu. I looked at the menu. I'm like, oh. He's like, dude, you can't just walk out. Like, they charge you for everything. And then I looked at my phone, and the Robinhood credit card was like $40 charged at Army Navy. I'm like, oh my god, dude, I'm the stupidest person ever. And it was so funny because Iliano did not let me live that down, because he found out somehow. I think Garcia told him, and Iliano was like, so I heard you had a nice lunch today. And I was like, dude, it was a little expensive of a lunch, but I heard you had a nice lunch. I was like, dude, I didn't realize. So why did I bring that up? Dave Ramsey is talking to the people that spend credit cards the way I was spending at that concession stand, just picking up anything, thinking I had free money. That's who Dave Ramsey is talking to. Those are the types of people that cannot be trusted with credit cards, because you give them a $5,000 credit limit. They actually think they have $5,000. They think they have legit, like, I thought I had unlimited money in that concession stand when realistically it was a $20 hold. And then I end up paying $40 for like something that probably should have cost $10 at a regular restaurant on a regular day, but it's a football game, so it was expensive. And those are the people that can't be trusted with credit card debt. But I think the far majority of financially literate people, they understand you don't pay off your debt that quickly. You use it as leverage to move further. But credit card debt, you pay off immediately. That is important. Dude literally wanted to flex. Dude, I thought it was free. I really thought it was free. I was so happy. I was like, damn, that was a great deal. And then Garcia's like, bro, like, never mind. I just dumped $40 for a hot dog and fries. It was ridiculous. Tesla 457 down about 1.1%. Robinhood goes green. PayPal is green. Palantir 8248 is green. Bitcoin 96.3. That's green, even though it's down from 99. Verizon is green. Nvidia slightly red. Google red. Meta red. But Hood and Palantir green. Tesla slightly red as well right now. I did nuke 2 cash secured plays. If you want to call me Amit through the phone, yes. Adam, I cannot call you because my phone is dead. So Adam, I'm going to send you a StreamYard link on WhatsApp, and you can just join through that, and we'll hear your plays. Okay, just sent you, Adam. All right, let's get Adam onto the show. Let's get his thoughts. Haven't heard from Adam in a couple months now, so it'd be nice to have him on the show. Mint needs to get out more. It's so fun hearing him experience the world. Dude, that wasn't about me getting out more. I legit thought that I thought it was a $20 all-you-can-eat concession stand. And I should have realized, like, there's no way at a football game that would be happening. But, yeah. But anyway, that's how people who don't care about credit feel. They, like, legit just think that they can spend whatever. And it's not the right way to go about it. I feel the problem with credit cards is that they're predatory to people that are poor with money. Yeah, they are. I mean, I'm not going to lie. That's kind of what the business is built on. Now, granted, the rebuttal to this, which I heard Amit was spending like the Cuban Missile Crisis was back. Dude, if the Cuban Missile Crisis is back, like, it doesn't matter. Just spend as much as you can at that point. Forget your credit card debt. But yeah, the comeback to this is that if credit card companies didn't offer credit, even though it's not cheap credit, people in the lower class strata of society, they wouldn't have access to any capital, right? So although it's predatory, which I agree, like at some level it gets predatory, the way the credit card company is justified is that, well, if we capped off the interest rate at 10% instead of 20%, which is what Bernie wants them to do, and Trump has entertained the idea of it as well, then they wouldn't be able to give out as much credit. The only reason they're able to give out credit is because they know they'll make money on the credit because people will pay the high rates above it. So it is a nuanced topic, but I definitely don't think the predatory nature of it is a reason we can be against the concept of credit, because sometimes people do need money, and you might have to pay a little bit more to get that money. All right, I think we got Mr. Adam on the show. Adam, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you, brother. How are you?
Good, good. Sorry, next time I'll have my video on. Right now I can't.
No worries. First of all, it's been a couple months since you've been on the show. So before we get into your plays, how are you doing? How's life? How's 2024 been? And are you excited to end out this year?
Yeah, this has been a whirlwind. I mean, the last 2 years, I'm super thankful to have friends like you and a couple of other people that I speak to. So sometimes you keep me grounded with plays and things like that. So Ahmed took me out of some headaches. Basically, he's like, you don't need this shit at the end of the year. Just chill. And because he's been doing that, I've been killing it with cash secured puts, kind of like bigger plays like TJ is doing, something like this. And super excited to share. I'm on Jesse's Discord and Chris's Discord, and I'm just sharing my plays. I'm not shilling shit. I'm not selling anything. I'm just helping. So I appreciate it. And this has been a very, very good year. So thank God.
Before we get into the plays, Adam, so obviously this has been a good year for you. You publicly acknowledged some of the plays you were in, MicroStrategy being one of those plays. I just want to ask you a question in terms of you dealing with the volatility of this year, because you took a little bit of money and you turned it into a lot of money, but to get there, you had to deal with stomaching the volatility. What was that process like? What advice do you have to people that are in that process? And do you want to have the same type of stomach for volatility in 2025?
No. So for me personally, so shout out to everybody in the chats. I really appreciate it. I'm probably going to start a YouTube channel again, like get back into it, more about showing my journey and somebody who's retired at 41, and more about less volatility, how to live off of dividends and options premiums. So that's the plan for 2025. I'm not 100% sure about the YouTube channel because I don't want, it's a little stressful making YouTube videos because everybody sees your plays and you kind of feel bad if a play doesn't work out, whatever. But I don't want any volatility in 2025. I'm going to be like 90% out of anything crazy, like absolutely vagina plays I'm going to be doing straight up.
Okay, and how was stomaching the volatility in 2024? What were some of those moments where you were like, "Holy crap!" But you kept holding on?
I mean, you have a thesis, you play it out, and if it makes sense in my mind, I'll hold on to it. If something stops making sense, I'll let it go. And MicroStrategy, it's so funny because right now, like I see halt in MicroStrategy, right? Like, and I speak to you about it. Like, I'm not oh my God, Sailor's taking us to the moon, moon boy. If I see there's a problem, there's a problem. And a lot of people think that I just got into MicroStrategy and I bought it $500, and they're like, "Oh, you bought it $500. That's why you're saying this." No, I've been in MicroStrategy before most people. So you got to have a thesis, and if you can explain a play to somebody who's not in stocks and it makes sense to them, then it's a solid play. If you can't explain the play and it doesn't make sense to people, specifically people that are new to stocks, right? Not an OG, but somebody who's new. If you could break down your thesis and make them understand it, I find that really helps me out a lot, that the play is solid.
Right. Yeah. And look, you held on the whole year and you had a hell of a year, strong 2024. And I think now it's just about protecting that and growing it slowly versus as exponentially as you did going into 2025. Okay. What are the plays? What are you looking at for some put premiums?
Yeah. So last week I did a Tesla play. I sold $330 strikes for January 7th. Everything's January 17th, guys. My plays, I'm really trying to do everything literally on the same dates. Even if I get into a play a week after or 5 days later, everything's the same dates to try to manage my portfolio better. Any gains that I'm getting from my premiums, I'm putting them into something called SBIL, which is like an SGov, or I'm sorry, BIL, which is like government treasuries. And that's how you keep money, track of your money and taxes and things like that. And that's a vault. You don't touch it. So I did $330 strikes for January 17th. I use a lot of technical analysis with Bollinger Bands and volume isolators, RSI. Those are my technical analysis.
And how much credit did you get on that 330 put?
I actually just got out of it today, by the way. That's why I did the new play. So I did a 330 strike. I got around 2%. So I put up I got an average of $7.55.
Wait, really? You got
Yeah.
7. This thing is trading at 130 right now.
Yeah, that's why I got out of it, bro. I got out of it.
Holy
Yeah.
crap. So you basically made like 70% on this play.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Not bad. All right. So what's the new play that you're in?
One moment. The new play is gonna be, so I did 2 new plays today. The first play is gonna be a micro strategy play. My strike is $280. It's also for January 17th. I got an average credit of $9.24 because I had to break it down into 2 contracts, but it's $9.25. You can't do a 24, so $9.25. And I sold 37 contracts. So I put up roughly just north of $1 million, and I collected like 32K or so. So I collected around 3.2, 3.3%. And that's also January 17th. The reason why I picked 280 is if you go, that gives you a 19% drop for micro strategies. Saylor said something very interesting. He says taking a rest for the holidays. So maybe he's going to calm the fuck down with his ATMs. That's absolutely destroying shareholders. I don't care who needs to hear that. But if you go to the technical analysis on the Bollinger Bands, the bottom portion of the Bollinger Bands is 311. And then there's a break in volume, and the volume starts literally again at 280. So, and RSI is smack dab in the middle, like 47, 48, which is a relative strength index. So I feel really confident buying at 280 if I had to buy, or rolling it because it's going to be like right around that price. So yeah, that's a quick 3.5% in 3 weeks play. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, that's not bad. As Doug says right here, our boy's putting on $1 million trades. It's so beautiful. That is wild, dude, though, to have the ability to, and again, you know MicroStrategy very well, so people should not get into MicroStrategy unless they really understand the company. You've been following it for like 4 or 5 years now. But to get 3% in a month on $1 million is not bad. Now, obviously you need the volatility to do that, but if the volatility is, not there, then there's other names that could be.
I do have another play, also crypto related, if you guys want.
Okay, let's hear it.
So I bought then, it's called BITO, BITO, and I did a similar play to BITO, like the thesis. And BITO is essentially it's a dividend play for Bitcoin, and the dividend is somewhere between 40 and 80% they're paying. It fluctuates a lot with the volatility. So so I did let me just pull it up one moment.
And all of this Adam's doing through his phone, which is hilarious. It's like pressing numbers on your phone. It's wild.
So for BITO, I did a $20 strike, cash secured put, saying that I'm willing to buy at $20. It also expires January 17th. And for this, I did 102 contracts. I put up roughly 204,000. I collected an average credit of 28 cents. So I collected around 1.5% on this play, 1.4%. It's a 3-week play. The reason why I did $20, if you're going to go to technical analysis, which next time I'll be able to share my screen, all the way at right now it's in the middle of the Bollinger Bands, like literally in the middle trading. The bottom end of the Bollinger Band is 2186, and then at 2142 you have the 20-day moving average. So I feel extremely confident at $20. Also, $20 is pretty much the lows that has been all year. So if I buy it at $20, I actually am going to be very happy. I want to buy it. And collect my premiums on it. The thing is, with all of these covered call strategies and dividend, ETFs, you got to get in at the right price because the NAV gets eaten up. But if you're buying at super lows, you're just going to collect premium and the NAV is barely going to get eaten, if not make money on it.
Yeah, the risk is obviously that if the NAV gets eaten up, if Bitcoin tanks, obviously that's a risk. But if Bitcoin also stays flat and we don't get too much movement, that could be a risk as well. So that's the thing I think you have to monitor on these trades.
Yeah, those are the two. And then last week I did a SoFi play as well, which is doing very well right now. I made that was also a 3.5% play.
That was $15 for next month, right?
Yeah, also January 17th. I'm trying to keep everything super tight in all my options so I could keep track. I ended up doing roughly $1 million worth of cash secured puts on that one. And I ended up collecting 49 cents on average. I think I did like 610 contracts roughly. It comes out to roughly $1 million, roughly, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more. And I collected 49 cents on that one. It came out to 34 grand on that. And I'm up 28% on that play because right now they are 35 cents. So I could get out of that one. And also I collected a quick 1% of my money for like 3 days.
Is that kind of the strategy in 2025? You've made some good money off buying options. Is now the goal to just put up collateral and sell options on companies you really would like? I don't think you would hate owning SoFi at 15 if you did have to.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't mind owning SoFi because I think they're a great company that's being overlooked, but it's getting too hard to overlook them. I think Trump is going to be very good for them in the future. And Anthony Noto has like, if I'm not mistaken, like $350 million coming to him on different trenches. Don't quote me in the exact number, but it's several hundreds of millions. That if he has a performance bonus, I believe it's $25, $30, and $35 for the middle of 26. The guy is not going to give up $300 million. He's going to get to 25 at the minimum. He's not going to not be 25. So I'm super confident with SoFi. If I were to buy them at $15, I would take them and just do a wheel strategy and then sell. But again, I don't just throw numbers out of my ass. I try to do minimum 80 delta, which means that it's 80% in my favor. Usually I'll do 90 deltas, collect even less money. And I like to go through technical analysis. And for me, the TAs that I use, like I said, are volume isolators, Bollinger Bands, and RSI with moving averages. And it really helped me to do well, but I'm honing my skill now after me and you spoke. And basically, for anybody that doesn't know, Amit basically said, Adam, you already won. You hit your goals. Don't do nothing stupid. Just sell options. You're going to collect a shit ton of money. And I said, oh, wow, you're right. And I know how to do options. I just was neglecting it because sometimes you see green in front of you and you're like, I want to make more money. I want to make more money. So I'm done with that. And now I'm buying the dividend plays that me and you were talking about. I know you guys are going to laugh, but we've been looking into some yield max plays that pay crazy dividends. But again, I'm not just blindly doing it. Like I got into the AMD one because it was at, down 50% for the year. Right. Meanwhile, you're going to be collecting a 35, 40% dividend on it and you're buying at lows. So I'm confident with that one. You want to tell them about it? Go ahead.
I think sometimes also when it comes to money, like the reason I said you won is because objectively you won, right? So it's like sometimes you got to just like sit back and be like, holy crap, I way surpassed my goal. And now if I just chill out and like take the easy route, when you have a lot of money, making a small percentage on it still is a lot of money versus trying to take that money and go up another 1,000% because that's the quickest way to lose it. So I think that's your idea as well going into next year of just like, how do I take this pile of cash and slowly make 30, 40, 50 grand a month on it?
Yeah, I mean that is literally that's literally the place. So funny. I hear you talking and then I'm watching the screen and your hand movements are not coordinated with the voice that I'm hearing. And I'm trying to respond to you on the screen, but meanwhile I forgot that I'm talking to you on the phone. Yeah, that's it. It's just it's maintaining your money. Don't lose your money. Be very cautious with your plays and look for entrances instead of rushing. There's no reason to rush. You could just look for a great entrance. And that's what I'm looking for right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think being patient is super, super important on this stuff. All right, cool stuff, bro. Adam, everyone in the chat is asking for you to have that YouTube channel come back. So I think we would enjoy it, but it would take a lot of work. So now that you won, I don't know if you want to put in all that work, but we would definitely love to have you back.
Yeah, I would love to do it. I like to share. It's just so much unneeded headaches when you have a YouTube channel. You know how it goes, man. It's a lot of hustle and grinding and stress. I'm trying to help Chris's community and Jesse's community to grow. I'm sharing these plays with them, and I'm going to try to help your community to grow. But yeah, maybe in 25 we're going to do something. That's about it, man. And what about you, man? What's your plans for 25?
Well, yeah, again, selling the hood options this week or next week, and kind of just holding on until the end of Q4, seeing what happens in Q1, and then that's it. I mean, same thing as you. I want to find plays that I like at a smaller scale, sell puts on them, companies I'd be happy to own, collect premiums. If I have to own those names, I should be more than happy to own them because I picked the right strikes, not get too greedy on different names, get into some dividends, keep buying hood and Palantir at the appropriate prices. Tesla, Amazon are on the list to get into some other Max 7s. Google's on the list. That's pretty much it. You know, like I feel like the big strategy was 2024, 2023 of like, how do you get there? And now it's just like most people have gotten there to a level they're happy with, and now they just want to slowly keep it growing.
It's and you're coming into some money right now. I don't want to like share things, but me and you talk, personally, and you've done beyond well for yourself as well. I mean, I don't know, people might not know, but Ahmed did quite well, and it's interesting, right? You had the Palantir train, and then you're on the hood train, obviously, and then you have other plays as well. It's really interesting, and I think you're going to do even better in 25, especially with your thought of, hey, let me just chill for quarter one and see what's a good deal. I think that's beautiful. I'm kind of in the same boat with you, and for everybody, me and Ahmed are like, while everyone's looking at Bitcoin to like pop, me and him are like, what's the opportunity to buy some of these proxy plays?
Yeah, because if Bitcoin were to tank to 80K, I think hood would tank into the high 20s, which would be great. MSTR would tank, which would be a great entry. Because if you believe in the long-term case of Bitcoin, which both of us do, any dip would create really nice opportunities on some of these names that are actually, good businesses. But the question is if we get that dip. What are your thoughts on Bitcoin? Do you think we fall back to 70, 80, or do you think we grind up to 120?
I mean, I've seen the show before. Realistically, we need to be. There would be nothing out of the ordinary if we were to drop from these levels to 70s. That's a normal pullback in Bitcoin cycles. We've just not been getting them because of all the crazy buying through the ETFs, MicroStrategy, and things like that. So maybe things change this time. I always said that I'm going to be out of, crypto by the summer. Some people think that this is going to be a never-ending cycle, or some people just got into it. But I just want to give you guys a warning. Things don't just always go up, and this euphoric feeling that you have, I'm not trying to burst anybody's bubble, and it could keep coming, but just have an exit strategy. Like when you say, I want to make X amount of money, follow through with that, because you never know what's going to end up happening, and things can, go for the worst. I think Bitcoin is going to keep going up. I think Bitcoin is going to hit at least 150 in this cycle. It used to be 120, 150 that I was thinking, but now I think it's going to be 150 because Trump is going to make a strategic reserve. If you don't think that's going to happen, you're not paying attention to Trump's proxies. Who's Trump's proxy? His son. Eric Trump is always talking about the Bitcoin strategic reserve. So, by proxy, that's essentially Trump saying that. And that's going to make Bitcoin go higher, in my opinion. So 150, I think we could get to.
All right. Adam, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. We'll have you on the show soon with your camera on, and we'll learn more about what you're doing in 2025.
Have a great day, everybody. Joe, cheers, everybody in the chats. I hope you guys are killing it, and appreciate your content creators because Ahmed brought you guys a lot of plays. I just want to say one more thing. I was speaking about hymns at $3 when nobody cared. And now
you were speaking about him. That is true. You were the only YouTube channel making videos on hymns at $3.
Bro, the only YouTube channel, and these fools didn't even so much as give me a freaking shampoo. I was like, yo, can you guys sponsor the channel and give me a shampoo? I use your products anyways. I spend so much money on their products, and they didn't want to give me a shampoo. In any case, guys, thank you very much. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays to everybody celebrating. And next year is going to be a great year. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, Adam. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
All right, that's it. He is long grab. He's Adam has some grab, so he got into grab I think like 480 a month ago. So Adam is into this grab play as well. He doesn't have a YouTube channel. He might come back to YouTube, but he took down the YouTube channel a year ago. Adam just had a couple kids, so he's being a new father. So that's another reason he's probably not that big on YouTube. All right, guys, I think that's it. We've been streaming for 3 hours and 24 minutes. I think now it's becoming a staple every day that we just go for 3 hours. Like, it's just the thing, 8:45 to 12 p.m. every day. I think it's happened multiple times in the past 2 months now. So it looks like this morning and every morning we are going to be locked in for 3 hours every day. But that's okay because there's a lot of stuff to analyze and it's fun being here. The only thing is today has been a relatively boring day. Nothing too crazy. Word of the day today is riant. That is the word of the day.
Riant.
Laughing, smiling, or cheerful. I didn't expect the judge to be so friendly and riant during the proceeding. They were happy to hear the riant chatter of birds in the morning. When I drink some of this whiskey, I will be the opposite of riant. I'll be like cringing trying to get the alcohol to go down. But that is the word of the day. Yeah, dude, I think 3 hours every single morning. That's going to be the stream now. This is what the stream has turned into. Turn into a 3-hour show. Next year, we're going to have a lot more guests. So I think every single day we'll be doing it. January 2nd, folks. This is the day. January 2nd. For those taking profits, we'll be here on the market close. We will take some drinks of the old and gold fashioned. I'll have some chaser just in case I can't take it down. Well, that's it. That is it for us. It used to be like 45 minutes. Dude, it used to be like 40 minutes. It used to be like 35 minutes. And now we're at 3 hours, dude. But it's fun. It's fun every single day. But again, today there's not any crazy news. I mean, markets are really not doing anything right now. Some things are up, some things are down. Nothing too crazy, no trends. Again, I think a lot of people went to sleep for the holidays. 2 days left of the year after today, and then it's it for 2024. And then that is it for 2024. I enjoy the long stream. I'm retired, so I can go about my business and listen. Thanks. I love it. That's great. Yeah, I know a lot of you guys have it in the background, and that's also another way to just keep it on every single day. All right. I think that is it, folks. I'll be back at 3:45. I don't think there's going to be anything too crazy today on the market close either. Just ending up the market as normal. And that's it. We have tomorrow that's trading. Oh, today's Thursday, so we will get money market fund data today. So we'll see if more money left money market funds. Tomorrow's 27th, and then we have the 30th, and that's it. That's it for this year. 83 on Palantir. Yeah, we do have a little bit of a Palantir pump going on. Even Robinhood trying to get into the 40s at the end of the day. Rocket Lab up 5%, which is nice. SoFi up 3%. Tesla down 1.3%. Robinhood 39.91. So trying to make its way back into 40s. And then Palantir showing amazing strength right here. 83.14. Not bad at all for Palantir. Bitcoin 96,400 right now. Palantir 83.12. Hood, yeah, 39.92. Just 8 cents away from 40. And then you got Palantir right here at 83.12, up about 0.9% on the day. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. I cannot stream until the market close, even though eventually this market open probably will be freaking 6 hours all day. We'll stream until the market close, but we're not at that point yet. We got from 45 minutes to 3.5 hours. We're doing 3.5 hours. We're at 3 hours and 27 minutes. Eventually, it'll probably be 6 hours. All right. Enjoy, everybody. Hopefully, if you guys are home with your family, you can enjoy with the fam. If you're at work, you can get through work and then get home back to the family. But for those that are chilling, enjoying their vacation, enjoying the holidays, hopefully you continue to enjoy, get some good food. And we'll be back on the market close and end out the rest of this year in the next couple of days. All right. Bye, everybody. Love you guys. Have a good day. I'll see you guys at 3:45. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.